Hello, everyone. Welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello, hello.
And happy July 9th to y'all. And 30 years ago in a day, the Clint Eastwood movie, In the Line of Fire, premiered. So, if any of you remember that.
Yeah, I was saying I knew of it, but that was the year after Netter and I got married. So, life as a married couple, two kids running around, it was
Yeah.
a little hectic. So I didn't get out to a lot of movies. So a lot of things fell through the cracks at that point.
Do you know what the plot of it is?
Actually, no.
Clint Eastwood works for the Secret Service, the presidential detail. And
Sure.
of course, I didn't realize this until I watched it, that the Secret Service, they do a lot more than just guard the president. They're almost like an investigation unit
Hmm.
for potential threats on the president. So it's almost like a police procedural, and someone is threatening the president, threatening to kill the president, to assassinate the president of the United States, and he's
Sure.
on the detail to make sure that that doesn't happen. And he has guilt because he was on the Kennedy duty years ago.
Oh,
And it's kind of
gotcha.
like, what could I have done differently, or what could have been done differently? And he's been on the detail for all the other presidents since then too.
Sure.
And he, and then finally, and the guy who wants to take out the president is John Malkovich, a younger John Malkovich, and he's very chilling in this movie. It's a chilling performance. Rene Russo's in it. It's a good little thriller, but it holds up well if you watch it today. So you
I have to check it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
But let me say hi to the chat.
Hi to the chat.
We'll do individual. I believe Netter was first.
Yep. I
And
love you too, Netter.
You can catch me this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for
Thursday things on Netter.
Thursday Things. Thank you.
Yep.
With Netter, with Netter, and I will be her guest of honor this week. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about, but it should be a fun time.
We're going to be talking about you.
Oh my goodness!
She's going to interview you for an hour.
You're gonna interrogate me. I got you.
Your favorite topic, right?
Last
That's if
call.
Troy lets me talk.
That's if I let her talk. Yeah, I got to get better about that.
Behold the Geeky Geezers. This is where the fun begins.
I like to think so. It's the start of the week in a lot of ways.
Have a great stream, Geezers. Thank you, Big Al.
Thank you, Al. There's our Blue Wrench deleted scenes.
Welcome to Deleted Scenes. I don't believe he's having a stream tonight, but correct me if I'm wrong on that, Deleted Scenes. But who knows? Maybe next Sunday I'll be able to join him, because I'll be on vacation next week. That'll be nice. for
Oh,
a change.
good.
Don't know if hopefully I'll be getting
Oh, the
some
lovely
help.
Lady Mist is with us as well.
Welcome, Lady Mist. I don't know if you've been on my stream before. Maybe you have. But welcome, definitely welcome.
Oh, yeah, sure she has.
Okay.
Always look for the flowers. She's like the
Yeah.
flower girl.
Oh, he forgot that he's not having a show. He should have brought it up. Just make a community post about it, Deleted Scenes.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, here we are.
You might have to let us know for sure deleted scenes so that, at the end of this stream we can send people over to you.
Well, he says he's not doing. I thought he meant he wasn't doing one tonight.
He said,
Crickets.
damn, I forgot. I might have brought that up on my show. Actually, the way that's worded, that could go either way.
Okay, well, just let us know either way. All right, but okay. Here we are, a lot to cover tonight, but we should start with the good old days.
And why do we do this? We do this because we bring you when you're in the news business, and I don't consider us to be in the news business, but we kind of fill that role a little bit within our niche. And usually the news is bad news. And we try to liven it up by remembering a time when things were better. And let's face it, we're talking about media and entertainment. That stuff hasn't gone away. You can still go back and enjoy it. It's still out there for you to consume. You don't have to be mired down in what Hollywood is spitting out right now. But what are we going to what ancient age are we looking back to for good content tonight, Aged Boomer?
The 2010s.
Yeah. We're barely more than a decade back. You know.
Yeah, we were talking about, I believe, what was it, like 2012, maybe 2013 is when these started, or maybe even after. And that was after the first Avengers movie. We're, of course, talking about Netflix's Daredevil series. And, of course, Netflix did...
Actually, it was later than that. It was 2015 to 2018.
Yeah. Short-lived, like, unfortunately, many Netflix series. Those of you, this may be a change of pace where some of you may actually remember what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, and you can reminisce right along with us. But real quick, Auditor Dredd just jumped in. Hey, buddy, good to see you there. I meant that In the Line of Fire was 30 years old. I might have brought it up on my What's on My Shelf segment. There will be no the Other Side of Midnight show tonight. Okay.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. But it's a good little movie. But getting back to Netflix's Daredevil.
Yeah.
For a time, it was after the Avengers movie came out, and you had, of course, on regular television like ABC, you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Eventually, you got Agent Carter and Inhumans. We won't talk about Inhumans. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter were, I thought, two fairly solid Marvel series. They did feel like they fit in well with the MCU.
They absolutely were. They were great shows. And honestly, I felt like they didn't get the support from Disney that they should have. They had the opportunity to weave together, the TV and movie thing, and they were doing the same thing that I've always complained about DC doing, not letting their peas and carrots touch, right? So you had the TV shows making references to the movies, but you never got the reciprocation. And that really, really hurt the TV thing.
I think so, and I feel these poor writers were actually doing their best on a weekly basis to write good stories, and of course, so were they on the Netflix channel.
I would even go so far as to say that the final FU to the TV guys was the fact that they had a whole storyline that involved the I forget what it's called, but that magical grimoire or whatever that they had worked into their storyline.
Yeah.
And then of course the show ends and whatnot, and it's all forgotten. And then you get around to what is this Vision and a WandaVision, right? And they have a whole new version of that book come up, and they just totally forget that, they already covered this in the TV show. I mean, it's absolutely obvious that's what happened.
I think the TV show sort of anticipated this because I think the final season had them crossing over into another Earth.
Yeah.
To stop. Like, they were to save the one Earth, but then the thing they were going up against was going into the other Earth, and they were like, we have to go there to stop this. And
that
might be how they explain that, why, yeah.
And honestly, for me, it was kind of my first inkling that they were losing their mojo, that they didn't know what they were doing, and that it was all kind of coming apart. But then that brings us to now. And you're going to have to help me remember. I know it's only been less than 10 years ago, but I'm having a hard time recalling. Was there no Disney Plus at the time?
No. No. There was no Disney Plus, not to my knowledge. There was the Disney Channel, and they may have had a...
And the Disney Channel was really child-centric cartoons.
And you could buy an app for it, too. I mean, you could put an app for it on your Roku box or your Amazon Fire, I remember. Because I remember I had the Disney XD app. Because what you do is if you were subscribed on your cable or satellite or had cable or satellite, got the basic cable, you were then allowed to put that app on your thing. You'd have to watch with commercials, but you get the same stuff you get on Disney instead of be on demand. That's how I watched a lot of Star Wars Rebels when it first started. I think I watched it that way, if memory serves.
Yeah.
The Netflix was on good terms with Disney. They put a lot. I think they put some. I know they put some of the Avengers movies on there, and they were doing their own original series. And if you remember back then, Marvel Television and Marvel Film divisions were run separately.
Yeah.
I know some people like to attack the head of the television division. I think probably because they think he was cheap or something because he worked on a budget. Which nowadays we criticize people for working on a budget, and back then we criticized guys like that for working on a budget. Now we're thinking, yeah, we need people who can work within a budget now.
To be honest with you, and I know this is a bit of a side thing, but the reality is, you got to be wise with a budget. And I used to, when I was younger, I used to go round and round with my grandmother because she was, Depression era, penny pinching and whatnot. And I said, look, Grandma, I understand being frugal. I really do. But there comes a point where there are some things that you can pinch pennies on, and there are some that you really shouldn't.
Right.
I said, for example, and the commercials, kind of inspire this, but it's true. You go and you get the cheapest garbage bags you can get, and then they tear, and then you got to use another garbage bag to clean that up. You're better off spending a little bit more money for a garbage bag that's not going to split on you, right? Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying if something, pay a little more for a lot of convenience rather than being lost out. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, or you're better off, not buying the thing at all. And honestly, even today, me and Netter go around and we'll be like, you know what? Yes, that's cheaper. If you're going to go get that cheaper thing, I don't even want it. I want the thing that I want, or I don't want it at all. Yeah. Because we could save all of our money if we don't buy the thing, right? But I think when you're talking about TV production, when you're talking about movies, there are places you spend your money. There are places you do not need to spend that money, and if you spend money, you spend it wisely, right? And we've talked about this before. All these productions where, fix it in post, fix it in post. No. You fix it in camera now and save $10,000 on your budget, you dumbass. And this has become the problem. People are wasting money on bad CG when it could so easily be done cheaper and better with a practical effect. And these are just examples that I'm making. But the budget isn't the problem. It's the wisdom of how you use the budget that needs to be there.
Yeah. And I think we did get some of that with the Netflix Daredevil series. I don't think there was huge CG effects or anything like that.
No, there was not. I mean, there were some. There were some.
They'd have to use it sometimes,
But they were very sparing because, and this was the thing about all the Netflix shows, Daredevil,
Jessica Jones,
Iron Fist,
and Luke Cage.
Put Luke Cage aside because he did get a little bit more into the special effectsy type stuff. Mm-hmm. But those others were what I think a lot of outlets have referred to as street level superheroes, right? Mm-hmm. These stories were very grounded. It was about people in their neighborhoods dealing with the criminals in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, not the alien.
And so on and so forth. Even Jessica Jones, who had some serious superpowers, right? She was still dealing on a street level, so to speak. Yeah. And so you had a lot of great interaction between these characters. And this was on a smaller scale, maybe a TV scale, so to speak, the kind of interrelated Marvel universe, a little bit darker, a little bit more PG-13 that you were seeing on the screen. And the fact that it didn't have direct tie-in to the movies didn't matter because we were almost talking about completely different spheres, right? They definitely were in the same universe, but it didn't matter because there was no crossover. So it was okay.
They brought up things in New York, like I think they would refer to the invasion from the first Avengers movie as like the incident they would talk about, and little things like I think some guy made a comment if one of them had a magic hammer, maybe I'd be getting more attention on trying to fight him or something.
Right, exactly. Oblique references like that.
Yeah,
and that's fine. And if you think about it from the point of view of a real person living in that world, that's how they thought about this stuff. Yeah. That was all stuff that was completely removed from them, right?
So, As I recall, I did not watch every Netflix Marvel series. I fell off of them, I think, sometime after Iron Fist. I think I'd been keeping up with them until after Iron Fist.
Yeah.
But I did watch the first 2 seasons of Daredevil. I remember that first season, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Oh,
Perfect
he was so well cast.
Yeah.
He was perfect. Don't get me wrong. I liked, what was his name? Michael Claude Duncan.
No, he's a good actor. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Actually, he was the best thing about that particular.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, my goodness, but Vincent D'Onofrio, he really embodied the Kingpin to the point that I kind of wished that we'd get an opportunity to see his Kingpin up against the Tom Holland Spider-Man. You know.
We're probably not going to see it even if they do use him, though. It'll be this Disney version of Kingpin and not the Netflix version.
Yeah, exactly.
No sound? Are we muted? Can you hear me?
Wait,
Boosh
who's
McFadden.
saying no sound? Boosh is saying no sound?
Can you hear us all? Okay.
I can hear you guys.
Okay, no, he's
Netta
saying we're
says we're
okay
coming
now.
through.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Don't want to go a whole string with us talking. And that was our big fear about the '80s, the summer of '82, talking about movies that we get it all done and like it would have been on mute or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when I was not remembering how we ended the stream in the first place. So,
anyways, though, but we were talking about Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Yes, and this was again. This gets into the fact that this was the reason it. I don't know if it was the reason it was on Netflix, but the upside to it being on Netflix, it was a little bit removed from Disney because Netflix could gear this towards an older audience, right? It wasn't. They had stronger language, definitely mature themes, a lot of violence, a lot of very serious violence, and it was totally in keeping with the Daredevil, of the comics, that Frank Miller era, and they better than most outlets, most live action adaptations of comic book characters, they were very faithful to the comics with these storylines. I mean, it was like the writers looked and they were like, wow, we got so much to draw from. All we got to do is use it. Let's just use it. And they adapted it. Imagine that, huh?
I like seeing Stick on the Netflix series, who was played by, I know the actor's name. In fact, we mentioned a movie of his on the '82 one, Stick Daredevil. Give me a second.
Oh, gosh.
Scott Glenn. Yeah, Scott Glenn was Stick. Was Stick on Daredevil.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because I guess he's like his mentor character, right?
Right,
and,
exactly.
And he gets angry though when I think Matt Murdock he gives him a gift, as thank you, and then he says, "Now we're done with the training," and he abandons him, which I thought was rather harsh.
Yeah, exactly.
He had his reasons for it. We find out later on, but
earlier Al mentioned Deborah Ann Woll as Karen Page. She was another one that was just perfect in this show. I mean, she's a delight. I mean, she was probably the best thing about True Blood when she was on it.
Yes.
So.
Except she never took her clothes off. That's the only criticism.
Yeah, I know.
I know, it's okay.
You said it. I just thought it.
Lovely woman, though. I'm happy to see her in that. She should be in more stuff, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, lovely actor.
What you're saying is you want to see more of her.
Yeah.
In every sense. I get it.
But, she was on True Blood, and I forget the guy who played Froggy. He was good, too.
Eldon Henson. Yeah, he was another one that was like, you see him on screen, you're like, yes, this makes sense. This casting makes sense. I get this, yes.
And, of course, our lead actor in the show, who was
Charlie Cox.
Yeah, who I first saw on Boardwalk Empire before.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an IRA guy who was, I guess, a liaison between the gangster and the IRA. That's who he was.
Yeah.
On Boardwalk Empire. Yeah. So he played an Irishman on that show, which I guess Matt Murdock is Irish, though. Is that right?
Yeah, he is an Irish Catholic. Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's got
That
that
is
going
very in keeping with his character, and he's very, very Catholic. A father, I believe, was a boxer, and so he's got that history there. And but the interesting thing, he's a blind attorney, right? He goes into it to law because he feels strongly about upholding the law. And then he's in an accident where he loses his eyesight. Some chemicals get in his eyes. He loses his sight.
Right.
And in terms of Marvel Comics, it triggers his mutation where he gets like this echolocation type ability. He can, in quotes, see using all the sum of his other senses,
Yeah.
Which is interesting in the comics. This is the way I explain it for, when I'm explaining this concept of this echolocation type thing. He can see, in quotes, see your outline. He knows how far away you are. He knows where you are so well that he can, he actually has a little bit of an advantage when it comes to fighting, right? He can, kind of predict your movements and so forth. But there's this bit where he encounters the Fantastic Four. The first time Daredevil encounters the Fantastic Four and they get into a fight. And he describes Sue Storm as a big amorphous blob. And that's when Reed Richards realizes he's blind and he's using echolocation, because there is nobody who would look at Sue Storm and think that she's an amorphous blob.
Now I'm curious as to how he saw the blob.
Well, because he was seeing the outline of her force field.
Right.
Which I guess I'm having a hard. It depends on how you believe her force field powers work, because a force field should not be blocking, or if it doesn't block visual, like light, then why is it blocking sound? But then again, she's putting out a physical force that's blocking, a punch or a laser beam. Yeah, the way sci-fi deals with force fields is not very scientific. Probably best not to think about it too much.
But this was a very character-driven series, though. You really got inside the heads of Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, I thought.
Absolutely.
What their motivations were. And, of course, we're not on the side of Wilson Fisk, but we at least understand.
Not at all. We understand it, but that doesn't make us like him anymore, right? Same thing, though, with Matt Murdock. You're rooting for him. He is the protagonist. He is a good guy. He does some pretty nasty things, though. I guess you would call it like kind of gray morals.
Right.
He's breaking his legal and Catholic oath every night he goes out as Daredevil.
Yeah.
You understand why he's doing it. That doesn't necessarily mean you condone it, but it's like, I see what's going on here. I'm along for the ride. Let's see what happens,
And then there's, we get season 2 and we get another vigilante.
I see what you did there.
I didn't know. It's like, I see what you did there.
Who, me? Or
no,
you?
Me. What I was saying.
Well, I was segueing over. We get the Punisher in season 2. Who I thought was going to be the antagonist for the whole series, actually.
Well, and that's an interesting, and a lot of the fans did too, specifically because of course, a lot of people already had other live action experience with between Dolph Lundgren and what's his name?
Thomas Jane.
Tom Jane and so forth.
Yeah.
But those were kind of standalone anti-hero characters. Mm-hmm. When Daredevil was introduced in the comics, I believe it was in a Spider-Man comic, and I think I had that one.
You mean Daredevil or the Punisher?
I'm sorry, not Daredevil, Punisher.
Punisher, yeah.
When Punisher was introduced, he was introduced as a villain character. And it wasn't until later. And Marvel has this tendency to do this. They introduce someone as a villain, and they later on become anti-heroes or possibly heroes. And they'll go back and forth sometimes. Because to be honest with you, and a lot of people forget this, Wanda and her her brother Dimitri, I forget, Quicksilver. They were villains. They were 100% on the Magneto side of things. And it was only later on they ended up changing sides and joining the Avengers, which is a great dynamic. It makes these characters very interesting and deeper than just good, bad, right? And that's how the Punisher was, too. He was, honestly, he was just a mercenary for hire, and it wasn't until later that they got into the whole tragic backstory and so on and so forth. And then they started to go, okay, yeah, you know, he's not evil, right? Maybe there's some good in him, and maybe he wants to do, you know, I mean, that's where the anti-hero comes out, right?
Right. And Wilson Fisk staring at the wall, Vincent D'Onofrio really brought to so many layers of the character. Yeah, he was. He bought that painting from the art gallery because it looked like a prison wall. Remember?
Right.
That's what he did.
Exactly.
Or maybe it looked like the wall of his bedroom that he would stare at. That's right. But then it sort of becomes the prison wall later on.
There is that connection, and that kind of nuance is just really, really deep. You know. One other character though that I want to mention that I think was a connective tissue for the 3 seasons and the other series, you know, the Jessica Jones and Iron Fist, Iron Fist 2, and what's his name, Luke Cage, was Rosario Dawson's character of Claire Temple. She's this supportive character who was in all those different series, and when they finally come together in Defenders, these people were not getting along. But it was like, but they were all friends with Claire, and they, you know, all of them would fight for Claire. And if Claire said, you guys got to work together, they were going to freaking work together, right? You know?
Yeah. Defenders, I never got around to watching. That was the one, that's when I stopped. But I saw the trailer for it, and it was like, I could tell, like, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, they were not getting along in that.
Which was a shame, because we needed to see that dynamic, because I really wanted them to the next season to be that heroes for hire type thing, you know.
Well, that's the point. Sometimes people that become the best of friends start out not liking each other.
True, but you do have to see some movement in that regard, right?
Yeah, well, the trouble is unfortunately these got cut short. I don't know if that was Netflix doing it or if Disney was.
No, that was absolutely Disney doing it. They decided, because Netflix would have kept going because it was a cheap show. It didn't cost them a lot, and they could keep going with it. But Disney made it impossible through the licensing, and that's what really killed it. And
you know what drives me nuts? These shows, I feel, tried their hardest to be good on their own right while also acknowledging the movies. Now we have the Disney Marvel shows, which are, from what I've heard, I've not actually seen any myself, but the majority of them have not been good. But the movies have to acknowledge them. So it's like the opposite of what we're doing.
Exactly. The other thing that I did want to bring up about, we talked about it in the green room. Mm-hmm. And again, this comes down to what I was talking about, that whole thing between in camera versus, you know, CG. The best remembered scene from, well, scenes, it's actually plural, from Daredevil that people remember, they refer to it as the hallway scene. That was the first comment, and what it literally is. I mean, if for those of you that haven't seen it, you could just conceptualize it. He's going, I don't remember what the story is before it or after it, but he's got to get down this hallway to get to some bad guys, right? Yep. And he literally has to fight every step of the way, multiple people. Again, remember, this is a blind guy. He doesn't have any other superpowers. He's not even Batman, right? He's well trained in boxing and martial arts and stuff, but he is just human. The only benefit he has is, and he uses this to his advantage, he uses his baton to knock out the lights so everyone's in the dark, right?
He has
and now he's got the advantage because he's the only one who can, in quotes, see. but you're watching him kick the crap out of dozens and dozens of guys in a brutal fashion. But he's not just sweeping the floor with these guys. He's getting as badly as he's handing out. And he just keeps going. And the blood is flying and the bones are breaking. And just when it looks like he can't go on anymore, more guys are coming at him. He's like, here we go again, you know?
And he gets damaged too. As the show goes on, he runs into the ninja clan known as the Hand, right?
The Hand, right, yeah. Exactly.
Terrifying.
Which
I often feel is like the Hydra of the East. That's what they reminded me of.
Yeah, kind of in a way.
You know?
And but that was all done in one. I can't say it was done in one take, but the whole battle, which goes on for, I don't know, like 5 minutes of solid fighting, it's all one camera angle. The camera just follows him.
Yep.
And if it was edited in any way, I can't see where the edit happens. It's that good. It's all done in camera. Second season, there's the stairwell fight. And that one does the same thing, but now I can't remember if he's going up or down, you know, the stairway, you know, multiple floors, and you're following him up and down the stairs. And it's, again, the camera never leaves him. It is so well choreographed. It's amazing. And I'm sorry, sadly, I have to contrast this with some of the stuff you see in the Marvel films right now, which is 50% CG. It doesn't even look real. You're cutting back and forth. It goes so fast. You're like, just tell me who wins. I don't care. You know? Whereas with Daredevil, you're watching it. You don't even want to blink. You don't want to miss anything, and you're on the edge of your seat. And again, like I said, you know, you think he's got the last guy. It's like, okay, now we could breathe. Nope, here come more. You know.
I remember I didn't see season 3, but I believe Bullseye was the main villain that season. Is that right?
Yeah, and it was a great take on Bullseye. I mean, they understood the character once again. You know?
And unfortunately, if you want to watch these, I think you have to be subscribed to Disney Plus, right? I know they had some DVD releases of them. I don't think they got them all on DVD or Blu-ray.
I think you're right.
If Disney was smart and was trying to think of ways to, you know, raise revenue, maybe put all of the Netflix Marvel series in a set that you can just buy. That would be pretty neat.
I know that
uncut.
Okay, no. Oh yeah, that's not an official release.
Netflix,
nope. Yeah. I take that. Who is this? This is.
They did seasons 1 and 2 in Daredevil, I think, on DVD. I don't think they got to season 3 or some of the other stuff. It's a pity. This is the problem with the streaming age we're living in. It's some of this stuff is going to be hard.
It looks like it might have gotten a Blu-ray release of all 3 seasons.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it did, but
yeah, I'll have to look into this after the stream. But on that note, and this might be where we want to start pivoting, although we aren't really planning on getting into the Little Mermaid. There's nothing to talk about there. It just flopped. But this live action Little Mermaid, from what I'm hearing, they have announced a DVD, or I guess I should say home media release date, and they have not yet announced a Disney Plus release date, which I take to mean that Disney is starting to remember that physical media is a thing and it's a revenue source, and maybe they're going to want to go back to that revenue source. If that is the case, I think we might, in the next year or so, be looking forward to more media releases of some of this other stuff that's been on Disney Plus that we haven't been able to get a hold of, so they can start generating some bucks. So maybe official releases of things like The Mandalorian and so forth. As far as this goes, though, this Netflix series, that might be a whole other ball of wax, because we are talking about a partnership relationship that could cause it to not get a release, just like we waited for decades for the Adam West Batman release.
Yeah. I saw some of Loki. They ruined him. I've seen a lot of She-Hulk. Bad show. Boomers, smart and woke do not mix. Well, yeah, usually they don't.
No, absolutely. This is like I said, this is again writers that understand. I've been given the license to a character, a franchise, whatever, that already has plenty of lore. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. If I do, people will be pissed. And I am not, so vain as to think that, I can do better than what the fans already love. That's how you get something as good as the Netflix series. And that's how you get something as bad as what we've been getting out of Disney. D- is what I call it.
Like with She-Hulk and Loki and whatnot.
Oh my God.
So from Marvel though, let's move on to DC. First story of the night. What do you say? Anything else about Daredevil though?
Nope. It was well. Did we want to cover the one that we didn't have on the?
The In Remembrance. Yeah, let's talk about this briefly. Do you have
y'all might remember about not even a year ago, Captain Corey, a young British boy who is a huge pirate enthusiast, had a YouTube channel that he was trying to start. He was a big fan of what's his name, the pirate guy.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow, right. I'm trying to remember, what's the actor's name?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, thank you.
Yes.
Jeez, what's wrong with me?
You should know, you followed the trial for hours.
I know, right? He had a situation where, he had a health condition. He was born with a heart defect, and he was... Let's just call it what it is. He knew he had very limited time.
Right.
And Johnny Depp, heard about him and put together a video through Make-A-Wish in character as Captain Jack Sparrow, saying Captain Corey, so honored that I get the chance to talk to you, It was just the most wonderful thing, and it just blew up in the media, and the fans just thought this was the greatest thing. He started a channel, and I don't remember what happened with it. YouTube struck it or something like that.
YouTube
Ridiculous.
took away all of his subscribers because they didn't think that he can get that many subscribers overnight.
Yeah, it was just it was one of those automatic things. And then the reason he got so many subscribers was, the notoriety, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'll subscribe, help out this kid," and and whatnot, and it got taken down, and there was just outcry from the community, and YouTube responded and turned it back on, kind of apologized. They were absolutely shamed. And his channel was quickly, it had so many subscribers and so many watch hours. He got monetized right away. And he was doing mostly unboxing videos because he had so many people that were sending him gifts and whatnot. He even got some pretty nice gifts from Johnny Depp. But he was in and out of the hospital a lot. He was also a big, what do we call it, Harry Potter fan and so forth.
Of course, yeah.
And sadly, you guys probably hear me talking about him in the past tense. It's because he just passed away yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah. Not Yellow Flash. That Umbrella guy. Right. Got the word out on his Twitter. Viva Fry, retweeted it, and the community is just devastated. I mean, And again, we knew it was coming. His family knew it was coming. He knew it was coming, right? Mm-hmm. but that doesn't make it any easier.
No, especially when the person is so young. I mean, it's
Boomer, he just had a video that came out 2 days ago, an unboxing. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I guess you kind of expect in a situation like this, there's going to be, some notice or something. Yeah, no video today, going to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. But no, it was just that quick. And it's so sad. But I don't have an article to share. The mainstream media isn't even covering it yet. Mm-hmm. But the best that I can offer you is to... Deleted Scenes is pointing out we did a whole show on it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, go subscribe to, if you're not already, subscribe to that Umbrella Guy. He talked about it there. That's the only reference I can give on this. Anchors away, Captain Corey.
Anchors away. And at least he got to spend his remaining days doing what he loved, and I know that the community and especially Donnie Depp helped him accomplish.
I know. I mean that's the appropriate use of Make-A-Wish. I'm glad that he was able to touch so many people in the short time that he had.
Yeah, and he'll be remembered. It's just
I have no doubt. Absolutely. But yeah. Let's get back to the geeky news. So we'll start with we had to talk about it. This is what is this the third week for The Flash?
No, it's been out a little longer than that.
Oh, whatever.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not paying attention. I have to say, this summer, this has been terrible.
Yeah, there have been a few good movies. And I was just talking about this with Al. In advance of Deleted Scenes earlier stream, talking about the best films of 2023 so far, I haven't had a chance to see the stream, but I saw his thumbnail. I'm like, oh yeah, he brought up some really good movies. Big Al and I were talking about that. There were a couple movies that were really, really good this year, but by and large, much fewer than your average year. That's why we did the past 2 weeks talking about 1982, looking back on it. But this has been the year of flops, and these flops, they're going to try to argue, they were made during COVID and blah 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 and this and that.
I'm tired of this excuse already. We're out of the pandemic era. Move on.
Yeah,
we're not going to see.
Let's face it. If the pandemic and the fact that they took so long was the only thing the Flash had going against it, it would have been a friggin' better film. This film was a mess, and not least of which because they chose to stick with Ezra Miller for as long as they did. I'm sorry. People don't like him. I'm telling you, not a lot of outlets are talking about this. I was just talking about Johnny Depp, right? Johnny Depp, who took the time out to get in character for Captain Corey, who gets into character and goes to children's hospitals, right? In character. He doesn't give a crap what Disney thinks about it. He's doing it because he cares about kids, right? Mm-hmm. Disney screwed him over.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely did. They said they weren't going to work with him anymore because of some allegations, because of a lying piece of crap, the kind of crap she left in her bed, and but they keep her in her. Well, Warner Brothers keeps her in their Aquaman film, and Disney keeps Ezra Miller. It's like, really? You kick Johnny Depp to the curb, but you keep Ezra Miller? Well, here you go.
I'm going to read a little bit from this article.
Yeah.
Okay. Warner Brothers' The Flash is headed for such a loss at the box office that it would have probably been wiser for Disney to have never released the movie in the first place. Despite criminally charged Ezra Miller's acting and the combined efforts of The Flash's talented cast, which include Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton's version of Batman, Sasha Calle's Supergirl, and others, the movie failed to find success at the box office. This was all predicted by us here at The Bleeding Fool, but the suits and in the C-suites in Hollywood don't seem to listen to us.
Nope.
This is true.
Absolutely true.
I mean, people are, it's the fans, it's the doctor. We don't have as much influence as you think. The general audience are making these decisions on their own. They're not on YouTube 24/7 listening to us.
Yeah.
I mean, my channel's especially small, but even Midnight's Edge, I'm sure they have a following, but it's not what. I mean, what we're all trying to do is we're trying to signal the Hollywood studios, listen to us. You're making bad decisions.
And I have no illusions. Nobody from Hollywood's listening to you and I, but they're probably listening to people like Midnight's Edge.
Right.
They're definitely listening to Valiant Renegade. I know that because he got picked up by what was it, Breitbart?
Really?
Oh yeah. Because he was talking. He talks the numbers, and he was used as a reference. So you better believe those studios are like, who is this Valiant Renegade? What is he saying about us? They certainly frickin' listen to Doomcock. They're parodying him in their films and the TV shows. So they're paying attention.
So it goes on to say the situation for The Flash has not improved since it had one of the worst box office debuts in the DC Extended Universe. And now we've learned that if Warner Brothers Discovery had canceled the movie, they would have lost less money, according to the box office analyst Luis Fernando. The analyst estimates that The Flash will end up grossing somewhere between $280 million and $310 million worldwide, which means the movie may not even adequately repay its marketing costs if it meets those expectations, given that the picture had a $150 million marketing budget and studios only receive half of the worldwide box office receipts.
Right.
In some countries, they get even less.
Some countries like China.
Yeah, I'm thinking. That's another thing. I have no idea. I mean, I guess that was mainly Disney, why they were kowtowing to. I mean, was it just that many people so they could still make a profit? Is that what it was? Anyway, in terms of second weekend drops for comic book movies that began the top spot, only Morbius' 73.8% was better than The Flash's 73% for The Flash. Better or worse? That means it's a higher drop. That's confusing. Okay. The Flash is sadly a flop for DC based on the numbers. In his final analysis, Louise estimates that The Flash may lose much more than $200 million, which would be a serious setback for the DC franchise. It's worth remembering that James Gunn, who in October was named as the new co-CEO of DC Studios and Warner Brothers, along with producer Peter Safran, told Deadline, The Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, and James Gunn has also announced that The Flash director, Andy Muschietti, will be taking over their next Batman movie, Brave and the Bold. DC Studios is in good, really hands. Or maybe they meant really good hands. What do you think?
I think they need better editors on these articles.
I think they're trying to be sarcastic with the last comment.
Maybe.
I don't know why. I guess Andy Muschietti made a deal before the movie premiere that he would direct the next Batman movie. Kind of like how James Mangold is directing the Star Wars origin story, the Jedi.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but let's face it. These people want to work, so they angle when they negotiate. They're like, okay, I'll do this movie for you, but I also want to do 2-3 more movies for you. And then they're under contract, and that's part of their deal, right? So maybe I don't make as much money off of this movie, but I know I'm going to be working for the next couple of years because I've got other movie obligations to them. And then the studio's kind of locked into that. And you know what? If you don't want them to work with you anymore, you got to break that contract. You got to pay out, So it's job security.
Boosh McFadden, Harry Potter DC. I guess those are the two big things over at Warner Brothers right now.
Right, but those are the two franchises that Ezra Miller was working on. And yeah, I think Matt Inouye was calling out my mistake. I'm confusing Warner Brothers and Disney. But these companies, they both screwed over Pirate Guy, right? But kept Ezra Miller and what's her name? Amber Heard, right? Well, Warner Brothers specifically.
Yeah, Warner Brothers specifically. I don't know if Ezra Miller wasn't anything Disney related. I guess they missed that bullet.
There aren't many bullets that they have missed, but we'll talk about Disney later. We'll focus on Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers, the situation was, and what I was thinking of was the not Harry Potter, but the Strange Beasts or Fantastic Beasts franchise. Ezra Miller and Johnny Depp was the Grindelwald, character or whatever.
Right.
And they fired him and replaced him with Mads Mikkelsen. Nothing against Mads Mikkelsen, but he wasn't Johnny Depp. And he was fired because of a freaking accusation that turned out to not be true.
Johnny
and yet
cast to be a draw of audience to go to those movies.
They antagonized all of Johnny Depp's fans. So you better believe Johnny Depp's fans, that's why the subsequent Grindelwald or Fantastic Beasts film flopped. And that's partly why this film flopped. Nobody's talking about it, but it's true. Everybody who is a Johnny Depp fan said, I will not go see this Flash movie.
Like at the end of the first movie, I think it was Colin Farrell as the antagonist, and then, they corner him and they cast a spell like a reveal thing, and I guess the polyjuice potion he was using wears off, and it's Johnny Depp underneath his face, and you realize, that's his true appearance. That was supposed to be the big reveal,
right?
I think they even asked Colin if he wanted to come back and reprise, and he said no after they got rid of Johnny Depp. I thought that was funny. Just disaster.
Look, I'd like to believe that if I was, a Hollywood actor, right, and my role was that I was the appearance of a character, and then you find out at the end that's not his appearance, and they ask me to come back, I'd be like, not unless you absolutely need me to do a flashback or something like that. I am not that character anymore.
Flash was one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Please go see it. Yeah, and Terminator Genesis is the best sequel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And all this other.
Well, look, I'm not going to fault James Gunn because James Gunn has said some positive things about this. What is he going to do? He's working for Warner Brothers now. He's not going to throw it under the bus. He's going to do the marketing thing and say, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. Go see it,
Here's the problem, though. Warner Brothers knowingly released a terrible superhero movie, was hyping it up, and now they're expecting the audience to trust them that, we're going to get it right.
That is a huge problem. That is a huge problem. And this goes back to...
Blue Beetle's going to take the brunt of this, and Blue Beetle may be okay. I mean, I have some issues.
Maybe we'll see. But I'm going back to about a year ago, David Zaslav said something about protecting these IPs, right? That we damage these IPs by putting out bad films. I haven't seen him do anything to act on that. He was right when he said it, but I have seen no movement on that. Yeah. And honestly, and this was the rationale behind the mothballing of the Batgirl film. And we all said, well, if it was crap, he understands he doesn't want to destroy these franchises. So, I get that. And yet they put out this piece of crap.
Anyway, let's go to the next article. But I wanted to say, I remember we were thinking Zaslav was going to change things. But if you recall, the people in charge of Warner Brothers prior to Zaslav were idiots.
Yeah.
Like, really, just Jason Kilar, the day and date thing?
And it has absolutely led to this viewership having this impression of Warner Brothers that this is where superhero films go to die. With Flash, DC now has 6 of the 10 biggest comic book movie bombs ever. So what we're basically saying here is that Warner Brothers is known for crappy superhero movies. This is by Paul Tassi, senior contributor to Forbes magazine. You want me to go ahead and read this one?
Yeah, why not? Sure.
Okay, so it's obviously in his voice. Okay, this Paul Tassi. So when I say I really mean him, right? Mm-hmm. I honestly cannot believe how big a bomb The Flash has turned out to be. While not stellar, it was a pretty solid entry in the DC canon, but a contribution of an unknown controversial star, the DCEU dying, and the failure of gimmicks like Keaton's Batman meant that audiences simply did not show up. I would, just stepping out of it for a second, I would argue that the only people that did show up were ones that wanted to see Michael Keaton's Batman.
No, but
that was,
Go ahead. I want to say that Ezra Miller is not unknown. He's known for the wrong reasons, but he's not unknown.
Well, good point. I guess he probably meant as an
He's
actor.
been in movies before, too. He's was in those Fantastic
Beasts. The fact is, though, he's not a box office draw because of any of that.
No, earlier in his career, he was seen as a talented, character type actor.
Yeah, exactly.
And they brought him on to play the Flash in Justice League, which was a disaster. And then, of course, he had all of his shenanigans, like choking a woman live on camera.
Yeah, you want to fight? Okay.
That's been the first red flag for Warner Brothers, and they hadn't started filming this movie yet. You could have fixed this. You chose not.
Look, and you know why they didn't? Because he represented the alphabet community, and they were just afraid to go against that.
Hire another actor then.
And all it would have taken is someone like Zaslav. Well, someone in Zaslav's position, not him himself.
He wasn't there at the time. Yeah.
If someone in his position had the cojones to say, this guy's a problem, we don't want to work with him anymore. It doesn't matter what his preferences are and what community he's a part of. That is no defense against this kind of behavior. Done.
Anybody in that community was defending his actions. That's another thing.
Well, and it would be so easy to just point to, I'm sorry, just because, he's they, them, and, whatever, gender nonconforming, is that the representation you want? If you are going to support that, then you're a trash person that has nothing to do with your genders and preferences.
Yeah,
Done.
I have no doubt that he was doing other things. It's just what was caught on video.
Absolutely. It's like with cockroaches. You see a couple of them, you have no idea how many more there are behind the walls. Mm-hmm. As a result, The Flash will apparently lose Warner Brothers $200 million when all is said and done. Now, keep in mind, this is, what was the date on this? This was July 8th. Okay, so this is just yesterday. So these numbers are pretty up to date. $200 million when all is said and done due to the high cost and low revenue. That makes it the biggest comic book movie bomb ever, and up there with famous flops like the also $200 million losing John Carter. But if you ever needed a sign that DC needed to change things up, you can look at the overall comic book movie bomb list, which I saw being passed around the other day. In fact, 6 of the top 10 biggest bombs are from DC, and 5 of them are within the last 3 years, particularly every post-Aquaman DCEU movie. Here's the list. The Flash lost $200 million. Shazam! Fury of the Gods lost $150 million.
I'm surprised. I think we did report on Shazam not doing well, but I didn't realize it was that bad. That's pretty awful.
The problem with it was twofold. One is that it was directly mired and bogged down by the dead Snyderverse. It wasn't going anywhere, so people lost interest. And 2 or B, I forgot how I started that. Black Adam divorcing itself from Shazam and anchoring itself to Henry Cavill's Superman, which is a dead franchise. Honestly, I think you might have been able to mitigate one with the other. If this had stayed perfectly tied to Shazam and not mired itself to Henry Cavill, then one might have been able to argue, hey, look, Shazam could still be in the new universe. It doesn't have to be part of the Snyderverse. They blew it, though. They listened to The Rock, and it sunk. Mm-hmm. I did that intentionally. Wonder Woman 84, $137 million.
I blame day and date on that, the HBO Max day and date thing. It was a bad film, but I think that the original was well received. So was Aquaman a year prior. I think it would have garnered an audience. I mean, word of mouth probably would have spread after that, how bad the movie was, but I do think it was the day and date. It's on HBO Max. If you're a subscriber, you just get a free sample. In fact, I think they were giving out like free test subscriptions at the time too, so you could technically watch this movie for free. No one's going to pay.
Yeah,
to go see this. I'm surprised. Yeah.
So viewership is meaningless if there's no money behind it. We'll get to that with a later
article. Don't blame it on the pandemic, though. That was because of the pandemic.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. It was also a shit movie. But Dark Phoenix, $133 million. I never even saw it.
This was the last of the X-Men movies.
X-Men, yeah.
This is the problem with this. I believe that this was a 20th Century Fox holdover that Disney had. I think there was probably more work on it that needed to be done, maybe better editing or something else, maybe more effects laden. I have a feeling that Disney just didn't care about this project and just threw it out into theaters just to get it out there, because it's like, we're the X-Men owners now. And it promptly...
And of course, Patty Jenkins is the bestest ever, so how could it be bad, right? I'm sorry. I'm back on Wonder Woman. I'm sorry. It was Dark.
I forgot who did. Yeah. Oh, no. Was it Singer that directed Dark Phoenix? Brian Singer? And I think he was on The Lamb because of the... Or it might have been a different director. Yeah, Brian Singer had left.
Oh, my gosh. Too. I hadn't heard about that.
No, who directed Dark Phoenix? I know that the prior X-Men movies had been... Because Brian Singer came back to X-Men after Superman Returns was the flop that it turned out to be. But... who directed Dark Phoenix?
Bush is supposing that Fox tanked that movie on purpose when Disney bought them out.
Possibly.
That actually could be. You might actually be right about that. There was this...
Which is a shame, actually.
Well, there is a feel like, for whatever reason, and that had to at least been part of it, it was almost like the people at Fox were like, let's just get this piece of crap done and out, you know?
The dialogue was abysmal. Yeah, your favorite actress was saying, shouldn't call them X-Men, just call them X-Women, because they're the ones always saving you guys. And it was, what's her name? From Hunger Games, you know what I'm talking about, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, right, the first action hero female. Right, exactly. So Suicide Squad, $130 million loss. Black Adam, we were just talking about, $100 million loss. Fantastic Four, I'm not sure which one this is supposed to be. Probably was it the Fan Four Stick one?
This was the one from, let's see, the Suicide Squad. That's surprising. That was the James Gunn directed one for Warner Brothers, not the first one. Black Adam we talked about.
I forget which one had the in it.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Wrong pipe.
There you go. I get it. But yeah, Fantastic Four, $100 million. R.I.P.D. What's that? $92 million.
That was like, I don't know if that was based on like a Vertigo comic or.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that one. But I guess it lost $92 million. The New Mutants, $84 million. Doesn't surprise me. And actually, Green Lantern at a loss of $75 million is actually looking pretty good right about now, isn't it? It only lost $72 million. That's not so bad.
It was said this was the biggest bomb ever. And
hell, I would say that I'm noticing a couple not even on this list. You don't have what's her name's Catwoman movie. That's not on here. You know who I mean. Halle Berry, yeah, her Catwoman movie isn't even on here. Maybe it didn't lose as much as that.
That derailed her Bond spinoff series. They were going to do a spinoff series with her character of Jinx. That was introduced in the last Pierce Brosnan movie. Catwoman came out, and they all of a sudden Halle Berry. They didn't think she could be a lead, like a lead box office actress anymore after that movie came out. So that project got canceled.
Yeah, you gotta be careful what roles you take. Know what you're getting into.
This is another reason why when people want to attack the actors, my argument is if an actor picks bad enough roles and bad roles, bad role after bad role, their careers can be done. They're going to get punished on their own.
I just noticed that there is a picture from the Fan 4 stick at the bottom of this article, so that's probably the one they meant.
Yeah, it's that weird one where I guess it was like scanners and Dr. Doom was exploding people's heads. I didn't see it. I just heard that. New Mutants, though, that was another holdover from the Fox days, which is a pity because it had Anya Taylor-Joy in it. I think it was almost being treated like a X-Men style horror movie where like mutants were stuck in this horrible academy, and it looked interesting, but I heard it was terrible. That one I never actually got around to watching because I knew there was no future in it. But it's a shame, though, that could have been another sabotage by Fox. That Disney buying out of Fox really screwed up a lot of movies, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, and, I mean, you can blame Fox for intentionally tanking stuff, but then Disney continued the process by either not doing anything with it. Well, we'll get into that later. But in fact, let's start pivoting into a little bit of dismal Disney now, because their stock has been downgraded again over streaming, theme park growth.
Yep.
They're screwing up big time left and right. We are not surprised by this. I've been posting over on MeWe occasional updates about how the stock is falling. Every time I see it jump up, I kind of wonder if Nelson Peltz is like buying up more stock, getting ready for something,
to get in there. And you kept saying about, remember when Chapek was running things, you were saying, I've said for a while, it takes a while for Disney to right the ship, for the captain to right the ship so it doesn't hit the iceberg. And then you were like, but you know what? Turn the ship already.
There does come a point where it's like, it does take a long time, that's true. But if you never turn the wheel, it's
hitting the iceberg right now. That's what's happening.
There's no doubt about it. Oh, it already hit the iceberg. It's sinking. It's time to either, well, I mean, people are evacuating. There's no doubt about it. But, someone might want to call, the underwater welders or something, or because you're taking on water fast.
Oh, this is cute, the subhead for this category you have here. Disney/Indy/Marvel/Star Wars. Oh, Troy, there is no Indy. There is no subhead for Indy. Disney could have done something with Indiana Jones. This could have been a fix while they figured out what they were doing with Star Wars. And they decided, no, let's throw this away as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. In fact, I'm going to tell you what I think they should have done in a little bit.
Yeah.
I figured out a replacement actor, and I'm going to float his name by you to see if they were going to do more indie movies just with someone else playing Indiana Jones in 1930s adventures, who I think should have played him. I'm going to lay his name out in a minute, though, and see if you think he was a good choice.
Okay.
Disney stock downgraded over streaming theme park growth fears. Disney stock was downgraded this week by investment advisory company Key Blank Capital over fears of stalled growth at its Disney Plus and Hulu streaming services and lower attendance at its theme parks, according to reports. So this is all bad.
Yeah.
This is non-related to box office. So they're not even downgrading it over the box office news.
Right, exactly.
This is over other stuff.
Oh, it's going to get worse. I bet there will be yet another downgrade coming.
Yeah, while Disney appears less expensive versus its historical average, we believe the stock is unlikely to work until a number of items have line of sight to being resolved. Analysts led by Brendan Nispel said on Wednesday, according to Barron's. KeyBank analysts lowered Disney's rating from overweight sector to weight to Wednesday, causing its stock price to fall. The analyst's main concern included the low growth of Disney's Plus and Hulu, a possibly too high price for the new ESPN streaming service, weak theme park attendance compared to company expectations, the company being too ambitious about content distribution, profits, and shares dropping last year with a similar financial setup this year, the outlet reported. Since its peak of nearly $200 in 2021, Disney's stock has fallen sharply, ending Friday at $89.28. We prefer to step aside, acknowledging meaningful uncertainty, and wait for further catalysts as buying the dip has been a losing trade, Nispel said in a client roll Wednesday. So what are they saying? Buying low right now is still a mistake? Is that what he's basically saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Theatrical releases like The Little Mermaid also face smaller audiences at theaters, the analyst said, according to CNBC. Yeah, I guess Little Mermaid is a success compared to our latest release from Disney.
Yep.
See. Okay. What is this? Nobody will mail them out? We're going into election. Oh, I see you're talking about.
Yeah, Bush was saying that he expects a bailout, and a lot of people have been talking about bailouts for a long time. I don't see it happening.
Why do people always say this with Disney? Why does Disney get a bailout? 20th Century Fox is allowed to get devoured by Disney. Why does Disney get a bailout, but Microsoft can't buy Activision because of Fed interference? I don't understand.
I think the bailouts are going to be drying up because we are going into election season, and people are not very positive on the spending of money the way it is. I mean, unless the DNC knows they've freaking lost and they're just giving up on this election season and they're just going to.
Unless Iger becomes president someday, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Petroleum reserves.
You know that anyone that runs against them is just going to point to what's happened to Disney and gone, "Oh, really? You're going to run our country the way you ran Disney?" And then just hold up the chart of the downgrades.
Fox wasn't devoured; those execs made bank. I guess you're talking about Murdoch. I guess they wanted to divulge from the movie studio, but I don't know. I don't know. I still feel that should have been stopped. I don't know. 20th Century Studios.
And I'll tell you what, the argument for Disney, what is the argument? Why would Disney be deserving of a bailout? There was a time you might have been able to make that argument. They're Americana, Mickey Mouse, and the United States, and whatnot. That's not true anymore. That really is not true anymore. They're not the only game in town with Universal, growing and families turning away from Disney. Things are getting bad. People don't even realize how bad they're getting for Disney.
Wasn't there talent over at Fox that Disney should have retained to work on their own projects?
There was talent in Disney they should have retained. For crying out loud.
Okay. I don't know. I'm still angry about that.
Well, you should.
They did their best to sabotage Alita first, too, before buying out Fox, which I thought was...
Exactly right. And now they're doing nothing with it.
Let's go to the next article. This is news.
Before I put this article, the pivot into this is, do you remember a few years back when Captain Manhater was in the studios, or was in the theaters, and everyone was posting the pictures of these empty theaters and talking about Disney buying out theaters, giving away tickets to children's hospitals and stuff, and girls groups and stuff like that to bolster. And this was how they made their numbers for Captain whatever her name is. Well, it looks like they're kind of at it again. But it's definitely not working this time around. It's way too obvious. Applebee's gives away free tickets to new Indiana Jones movie. So you go to Applebee's, spend $35.
Sorry.
What's the difference? It's
when you sit down, and you.
Well, you could do the same thing at Arby's,
let me read
and you could just as easily spend $35 at Arby's. Roast beef is expensive, but yeah. So you go to Arby's.
If you think that's real roast beef, there's a bridge in Brooklyn I want to sell you to.
Well, yeah. Let me tell you, Arby's is. Applebee's. I'm sorry, I just did it again. Applebee's, $35, and you can get a free ticket to go see Indiana Jones. Isn't that great? You get a free ticket to go see Indiana Jones. When Mikey the Mexican Iron Man took his family to see Indiana Jones, or his friends, I don't remember who he went with. There's like 5 of them that went. They were the only 5 in the theater. He posted a picture of them sitting in the theater completely empty. Well, where were all the people that ate at Applebee's? When you get a free ticket and you plan to go to a movie and something comes up and you can't make it, you don't care. It's like, screw it. I don't care. It was free anyway. I didn't lose anything. Seriously. Even giving the tickets away, apparently people aren't even going to see this piece of shit film.
They did this years back with Jungle Cruise. And I actually saw Jungle Cruise. I got it out from the library when it came.
Was it any good?
It's terrible. It was
God.
really bad. It was another Disney movie, but I thought, okay, it's Emily Blunt, it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It might I figured it'd be like a.
I like both of them, sure.
I figured it'd be like a Pirates of the Caribbean style movie, and just no, it was awful. Just.
And see, and this is the other thing too, right? Bush is saying the Applebee's ticket sales went to the total box office, whether people spent $35 or not. Those count towards the tickets sold. Yes, that's true. But that is no longer working in Disney's favor. And I said there was going to eventually be an accounting for this kind of thing. Nobody gives a crap how many tickets were sold. They want to know the bottom line number. How many dollars did you make? And that's what they're looking at when they say it lost however many $1 million.
Yeah.
That is the problem now. That's where we're at. They are, and I said you can keep rearranging the cookies on your plate and making people think that there's more than there are, but eventually people catch on. Well, the people have caught on.
Can I just read a section from this article?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Applebee's is also celebrating the start of summer with a brand new $6 cocktail featuring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Terramana Bianco tequila. The new tropical Mana margarita is also made with triple sec and a blend of pineapple, lime, and orange juices. It is then topped with a pineapple gummy. If you're not a tequila fan, you'll also find a $6 Blue Bahama Mama drink on the menu, made with Captain Morgan and Malibu coconut rums. It has a blue Curacao, and a blend of passion fruit, pineapple, cherry, and lime. Just like the other drink, it is topped with a pineapple gummy. What do you think?
Both of those drinks sound great, but hold the gummy. I really don't need that.
I like gummy things anyway.
And depending on which brand of blue Curacao you get, that's just an orange liqueur. But yeah, in about 2 weeks on Friday Night Last Call, I will be having a margarita on stream because Netter's been wanting margaritas, so I'm going to be making margaritas.
Are you going to be singing a certain song?
Maybe. It's going to be up to Netter.
I hear the sigh.
It seems appropriate, but it's up to Netter. If she decides she wants me to sing something else, I'll sing something else.
I was about to say that's like I almost feel like that's the go-to karaoke song, you know.
Well, somebody bought me a plum brandy, and this will be the second time somebody's bought me a brandy, so I'm gonna have to sing that song too.
Okay.
So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 82 million plus 5-day total, not far from July 4th disaster Superman Returns box office.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read from this. This might be a little lengthy, but hopefully I don't know if I edit anything out or if I'm just going to go straight. You interrupt me whenever you want. Okay. On the bright side for Independence Day, bomb Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Its first 5 days at the box office of 82 million aren't as bad as Paramount Skydance's Terminator Genesis, which was a horrible film. Which
I wanted to like it so much.
I think it's worse than Dark Fate, and that's saying a lot because Dark Fate is also awful. But I think I hated Genesis more. That sequel's launched just prior to July 4th, 2015, left a lot of methane in the air with 42.4 million in its Wednesday to Sunday total. The attempted Arnold Schwarzenegger comeback movie ended its domestic run at 89.7 million. Dial of Destiny will cross that mark before its first week is up. Comparing July 4th tentpole hits and bombs can be tricky since the holiday skips around. Sometimes studios launch on a Wednesday and sometimes a Friday. For box office fanatics, everything is apples to oranges. The last time July 4th fell on a Tuesday was 2017 and 2006. In 2017, over the Friday-Tuesday frame, Illumination Universal's Despicable Me led with 99 million, followed by Sony MRC's Baby Driver with 29.97 million. With the 300 million plus costing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny this weekend, it's as though box office history is repeating itself. Back in 2006, over July 4th, there was another expensive, highly anticipated franchise sequel attempt that was also rejected by fans with a B-plus cinema score. Warner Brothers awarded their DC's Superman Returns from Bryan Singer. The pick cost well in excess of $220 million after endless stories of a runaway budget and Singer recreating corn-filled Smallville, Kansas, in Australia. Like Superman Returns, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny clocked in at way too long, 2 hours and 34 minutes, thus delivering fewer showtimes for exhibitors and studio to gross more.
I hadn't considered that particular aspect of it. I forgot, a lot of people talking about how long the movie was and it didn't need to be that long, didn't think about the fact that if it's a longer film, that means less showings, which means less revenue.
Do not think that audiences also don't look at runtimes of movies. They do.
Especially if it's something you're planning to take your family to. It's like, how much time do I have?
Plus, how many trailers are on before it? That's at least 3 hours you're sitting in that theater.
And if you have younger kids, am I going to be able to keep them still for 3 hours?
They said this was a big problem with the Little Mermaid live action one they did, that it was almost 2.5 hours, and they're thinking the original movie is like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
A children's movie should be 90 minutes. The average attention...
But they had to squeeze Scuttlebutt in there, so, it was important, right?
Don't get that song back in my head. So anyway, the scuttlebutt about Indy 5. Okay, unlike Lucasfilm with the first 4 Indy movies, Warner's had depreciated Superman from its Richard Donner highs with 1978 Superman 134.4 domestic and Superman 2 108.1 domestic to the Krypton lows of Richard Pryor 1980. Superman 3 59.9 million, directed by Richard Lester. It was a kind of a bad movie.
Yeah.
There are parts of it I like, but it's still a bad movie. 1987's Superman for the Quest for Peace, which was swamped with a 15.6 million lifetime cum. Oddly enough, the picture only cost $100,000 to make, though. I'm sorry, I'm joking.
a lot of stock footage, that's for sure.
It's so bad. All 4 films starred Christopher Reeve as the Man of Steel. Superman Returns was Singer's attempt to build out a sequel from the original Donner movies while also paying homage to them. That was a smart tactic, and was it a smart tactic?
It was. It just wasn't executed well enough.
Okay. Because this is another problem I have is that, we're how many decades later from the original Donner Superman movie, and you're making a sequel.
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just, and especially because they were recasting with younger actors and so on and so forth. That was all fine.
Okay.
The problem was that it was tragically flawed. He did not understand the characters and the storyline well enough to be able to do what he was doing, and so
Kate Bosworth, worst Lois Lane. I'm sorry.
She really was terrible.
Right out.
She really was terrible.
Didn't care for Kevin Spacey as Luthor. This was before he had his own allegations, but I used to like him in other movies, but I did not like him as Luthor in this.
Really? Because I kind of thought he was okay.
I felt he was trying to do a Gene Hackman style Luthor, which I guess was the point.
Which was the point. And I also felt that Brandon Routh was quite serviceable as a Christopher Reeve stand-in.
He was underused. I almost felt
needed, though, there had to be a Lois Lane who had the kind of chemistry with him that Margot and Chris had, and we did not have that.
Okay, so that was a smart tactic, and it's an MO that has shown to please the masses on rebooted franchise sequels like J.J. Abrams' Force Awakens. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because everybody loved The Force Awakens. Right.
The hype for The Force Awakens was nuts in my little corner of the world. I didn't go to see it until like 2 weeks after it had come out, and the theater was still crowded. This was like the last.
It's kind of funny because you got to remember that I think most people realize that I come at Star Wars from a toy point of view, right? And the toy community had already been burned by the prequels. There was a glut of toys that people bought up like crazy from the prequels. that did not appreciate the way, the classic toys did. And so they were a little bit cooler on the sequels when they came out. And were not so quick to go and buy up all the toys.
Taco Bell cups with the big hats. Okay.
Exactly.
That didn't happen this time around.
And so that's why by the time we get to the second one and, green titty milk and throw the lightsaber, everyone was like, we're done, we're out. And you don't see the toys that did come out are peg warming, and nobody's putting out sequel era toys.
Here's the problem. I mean, not that I want to rehash The Last Jedi again, but I do want to make a point that it was a big risk them taking that with Han, making him and Leia separated, his son going bad. And I felt like Abrams probably felt he was, I'm just pushing this enough, right? And then Rian Johnson doubled down on it with Luke, and it's like now everybody's.
This is the
think
problem.
Abrams had those plans for Luke. I think Luke was going to be left alone, but
you also fall into the whole too many cooks problem.
Yeah,
J.J. Abrams started it. He needed to see it through. There needed to be one voice shepherding that trilogy so that there was some kind of unity. I would not, and I said this at the time. I saw Force Awakens, and I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I guess I got to see where this goes, right? And if they had a 3-movie arc that, well, no, you couldn't even do that. There wasn't even a promise of there being any reconciliation with Leia because he gets punk killed in the first movie. The appropriate character arc would be he comes back, right? You find out that they split up because of their kid turning to the dark side or whatever. And through the adversity of the 3 films, they end up coming back together again at the end. You got to have the strife that leads to a good payoff. We never got a good payoff of any kind from that trilogy. All we got was miserable. Nobody wants to see a movie that makes them miserable. I don't know how difficult that is for Hollywood to understand.
Yeah. I do want to address his video game comments here. There have been no video games except for Lego games that were based on the sequel trilogy, that were based on movies. In the old days, Lucasfilm would release a game based on Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Jedi, and also the prequels each got their own games too. You didn't get that with the sequel trilogy. You got Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2, which had some kind of thing in there which was akin to gambling, and it was kids running up their parents' credit cards to get these loot boxes, and then that was the other big Star Wars controversy when Last Jedi came out, was the Star Wars Battlefront 2. They weren't keeping an eye on what was being done with these properties. Same goes for that Avengers game, as you mentioned, which was a bit of a disaster too. And part of the problem is Disney should have their own games division. I mean, Warner Brothers, whatever I'll say about them, they do have a games division at least. When they bought up Midway, they did absorb that, so now it's part of Warner Brothers Games. So.
Imagine if LucasArts was still around, huh?
LucasArts, but there was also Disney Interactive. They had a gaming side in Disney, and they got rid of that too. And they're at a loss because Super Mario Brothers is making a big hit because Nintendo, a game company, is branching out into cinema, versus where Disney should have been branching out into the gaming world. It should have been the opposite with Disney, and that's how you keep these properties alive. If you make an Indiana Jones video game every couple of years, when the time a movie comes around, the kids know who Indiana Jones is because they've been playing the video games.
Exactly.
That's how Star Wars has survived, because even though they weren't having movies, they had cartoon series, they had video games for Star Wars for many years. So even
don't even get me started on the fans keeping it alive. I mean, between Shadows of the Empire and the Timothy Zahn trilogy and stuff, comic books, the role-playing games. I mean, there was a lot of fan love that kept Star Wars alive. Then Disney comes along, jettisons all the EU, and then calls the fans every name under the book. We don't even want you anymore. The Force is female, so go away. Well, guess what? You got exactly what you wanted.
Yeah. So, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny not doing well.
In fact, $300 million budget for Indiana Jones, and it's being beaten out by The Sound of Freedom, arguably an independent film. It was greenlit under Fox. Disney didn't want anything to do with it, so they tried to bury it. And then who was the distribution company that came along and picked it up? It was
Angel Studios.
Angel Studios. And Disney's like, yeah, okay, take it. And it is frickin' beating Indiana Jones.
Let me read a little bit from this article. I don't have the whole thing here. I just kind of picked the highlights from it.
Go for it.
This is one of the more important stories of this summer. The recent release Sound of Freedom film starring Jim Caviezel defeated Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at the box office on Independence Day. So on July 4th, more people went to see this movie, which had its release day on this day, than they did Indiana
Imagine a movie called Sound of Freedom doing well at the box office on Independence Day.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. Who could have seen that coming?
Well, people want to go to the movies and see movies.
People want to be inspired. People want, yeah. Okay, never mind.
I was inspired by the movie Seabiscuit, and that came out as a summer release, I believe.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
As reported by the numbers, the Angel Studios distributed, Sound of Freedom was the top film at the box office on July 4th, the day the film released. It grossed $14.2 million, while in 2,634 theaters, film grossed an average of $5,407 per theater. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came in second with a daily gross of $11.6 million, while being in 4,600 theaters. The film only grossed 2,000.
Pay attention to those numbers, okay? So 4,600 theaters for Indiana Jones, right? Half that number for the movie that actually did more than twice the income for it. Congratulations, Disney. You suck that bad.
There's a story behind this, though. Ironically, Sound of Freedom defeating Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes after Angel Studios president Jordan Harmon remarked that Disney shelved the film after they acquired the rights when they purchased Fox. So previously, 20th Century Fox, I believe they were behind this movie. They were going to give it a release. And then the trouble was then Disney bought them out. And what does Disney do with this movie? They shelve it for years. Fox was originally going to distribute it. Then Disney buys Fox. And for whatever reason, Disney shelves it. And it took you and your team and Eduardo a year to basically get the rights back, he remarked to the film's director, Alejandro Monteverde. Harmon would later clarify these comments in an email communication to Bounty the Comics, telling us, to clarify my earlier comment, Disney didn't distribute Sound of Freedom for reasons unknown to us.
We know what they are, though.
I'm very disturbed if I think the reasons are what they are. Because there's nothing wrong with this movie unless they hate the actor in Jim Caviezel. But
they hate the actor and they hate the message.
Okay. We are grateful to the distributor of this important film. Following Harmon's comments, the film's star Jim Caviezel, who plays former DHS agent Tim Ballard, noted the film lost all of its funding due to Disney's purchase of Fox. He told Drew Mariana on the Drew Mariana show, at one point we lost all of our money because Fox got bought out by Disney. So Disney is holding the purse strings here. We lose the film. And he goes out and gets us $5 million and saves the movie. You weren't supposed to see this. This is a movie they did not want you to see, Caviezel asserted. And we are fastly selling out our theaters right now. And we need the people to call to get more theaters. While the film beat Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it is unlikely it will best the Walt Disney Company's domestic box office. For the film, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny had an opening weekend of $60 million and has since gone on to earn a total of $83.8 million at the domestic box office. Overall, the film has globally grossed $153.4 million. Sound of Freedom is the highest grossing film from Angel Studios. It best the distributor's first release earlier this year, His Only Son. That film grossed $12 million over the course of 17 days at the box office in the beginning of April. Yeah, but these are both smaller films.
Right.
His
and
only
here's
funny, I
again
learned His Only Son is actually about Abraham, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and again, this I'm guessing that this studio is got a kind of a religious bent, especially, this is the where Jim Caviezel works best, right?
Right.
Passion of the Christ and so forth. But Passion of the Christ made freaking big bank too.
But
It was
yeah.
huge.
But Jim Caviezel hasn't strictly. I mean, he'll do faith-based films, but he'll do other things.
Sure,
too.
he will. Yeah.
He was.
What was that? What was that one movie he was in? Wasn't he in Frequency?
Yes, I guess.
That was a great film. Great
film. He was on a television series, Person of Interest, for many years too.
Oh yeah.
So, and Disney didn't always hate Jim Caviezel. I remembered when we used to go to Disney World in the Magic Kingdom. I think it was at Epcot. At Christmas time, they would have Christmas songs playing, and they would have a guest speaker talk about the Jesus story, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I remember the actor. I went to one of those, and the actor who did it that night was the one who played the butler on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He did the story.
Oh yeah.
But a few nights earlier, Jim Caviezel did it.
Oh
so
wow.
He was welcome there in the park to do it. So this is a recent thing, if this is what it is about them hating Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on there. People said they could have thrown this up on Hulu or Disney Plus years ago, and instead it becomes a competitor of theirs.
I know, right? This is a bad, financially speaking, this is a bad look for them. Real quick, I wanted to point out, Bush made a great point. The city of New York, wait a minute. Originally, Disney bought advertising space in the New York subway system to broadcast a commercial using the emergency alert service. How much did that damn thing cost? And it's a great example of marketing that directly backfired, because everyone that heard that was pissed about it. They're like, I'm trying to hear when my train is coming in and you're playing a frickin' commercial. Go F yourself. And I'll bet you there are people that might have gone to see that movie are like, screw it, I'm not seeing that damn movie now.
Anyway.
And real quick, say hi to CK, longest running superhero RPG on Earth. Welcome to the stream, my friend.
Yeah, but I'm happy for this movie is doing well. I need to go see it. It sounds like a really good movie.
Yeah, I had wanted to see it this weekend. I'm assuming it'll still be in theaters next week.
I think for a couple more weeks at least.
I'm going to try and drag Netter to see it on Saturday.
It sounds like a good movie. From what I've heard, it's actually like a drama thriller type of movie.
Oh yeah, it is.
RPG, but it's not even like it's necessarily a faith-based movie unless
not really.
There's the line in it that God's children are not for sale. I don't see that as a controversial line in the least.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, in a day and age where preying on our children seems to be in vogue, something I never thought I would even consider in my lifetime, that's apparently taboo these days.
Paulie saw this, did a video on it. Said he cried, he teared up a few times.
I would be surprised if I don't
myself.
myself.
Scenes seen it too. Yeah, he had a video up on it.
But it turns out, though, that this isn't the only film that is beating the crap out of Indiana Jones.
This is kind of funny and almost not surprising. This is interesting. This is Sony again. I'm telling you, Sony.
Well, and again, this is we've said this many times, right? The movies in the horror genre tend to be much lower budget, so you have a much higher, return on your dollar, so to speak, right?
Yeah, deleted scene says no. There's nothing faith-based about the movie. Yeah, well, it was a faith-based company that saw the value in it and released it, though, which I thought was interesting. What was the Hollywood studios decided to just...
Yeah, that's all I'm getting at, deleted scenes. I think a lot of people are painting it that way, seeing it that way, associating Jim Caviezel and, the Angel Studios and so forth, and their other films that way. That is somehow deemed to be some sort of a negative. But, again, I'm going to point out, Passion of the Christ, one of the highest grossing films in history, completely snubbed by all the Hollywood outlets and the awards services, but screw all that stuff. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, but horror film, lower budget, higher return. Insidious: The Red Door, a film I hadn't even heard about before this week.
I only knew about it like a week or two before it was coming out. This is a part 5 in a series, I think. Originally, James Wan had started it before he went to work on the Conjuring movies. I've never
all in that shared universe, so to speak.
Maybe, yeah. I've never actually seen an Insidious movie. It's one of these series I've been meaning to watch. But
I saw the first 2. I've kind of fallen behind.
Okay.
Just so many things I'm trying to see. But Insidious: The Red Door knocking down Indiana Jones 5 with $15.2 million opening day.
Yeah. Sony's Insidious: Red Door, the latest installment in the Supernatural series, blew by expectations on its opening day with 15.2 million gross from 3,188 venues, a figure that included 5 million in Thursday previews. Horror entrees usually face front-loaded weekend performance, but the Screen Gem Stage 6 and Blumhouse co-production has fired off with a commanding lead. It looks to land the top spot in domestic charts for the weekend, projecting a 31 million haul and topping last week's victor, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, in the process. It's due out on Wednesday. I believe it's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So I think Indiana Jones is done. Ho hum, it's another unimpeachable box office success story for a horror genre. Studios and exhibitors are still having trouble fully bouncing back after the pandemic shutter business and the summer's box office. They're always blaming it. They're going to be blaming this in 20 years from now. It's the pandemic. Stop it. That's not what's going on here.
And let me interrupt you real quick, okay? Because we have just talked about two smaller films that are beating the crap out of Indiana Jones, and they are still trying to spin the whole, is our cinemas dead, blah, 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 no one wants to go to the theaters anymore. I'm sorry, there is no way you can support that argument when you look at Insidious and Sound of Freedom, and I'm telling you, we'll be saying the same thing about Mission Impossible next week, for crying out loud. Look, just because Indiana Jones and Elemental and The Little Mermaid tanked, that doesn't tell you that people don't want to go to the cinema anymore. They don't want to see Disney anymore. They don't want to see shit anymore. They want to take their kids to see movies that they can take their kids to see. They want to go see movies they want to see and enjoy.
They're tired of their heroes being torn down, too.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is, say what you want about Crystal Skull, and I have a lot of issues with that movie. It at least left Indiana Jones in a good place. It's funny because it kind of starts out with him like, I'm getting older, and what do I have to show for it, blah, blah. And it ends with him, he's reunited with the love of his life, and he has a son, And
I agree with Michael French. They really should not have gotten into the canon of aging the character up, and they kind of started going away with that at the third one, at The Last Crusade. Last Crusade should have been the last one. But if you're gonna do a fourth one, look, I did not like the A story of that, the spaceships and the Crystal Skull and all that bull crap, but I did like the character elements of it.
Yeah, it was fine. Well,
some people really didn't like Shia LaBeouf. I liked him. I liked him fine. I even liked which a lot of people make fun of. I even liked that. It was tongue in cheek. I liked it.
No, that was George Lucas, and he did the same thing with Chewbacca in Return.
Yes, he did, and I thought it was wonderful.
Anyway. Do you know what they think they could have done? Disney could have started out and done a new Indiana Jones trilogy. It could have still taken place in the 30s. You could argue maybe these are all other Indiana Jones adventures, cast a new actor. Do you know who I think could have worked?
Who?
Feel me out here. What about John Krasinski?
John Krasinski, help me out here. I know that name.
Okay, you may notice he was on The Office, but he's been in other things since then. He's known right now as playing Jack Ryan on the Amazon series Jack Ryan. He's married to Emily Blunt. He was in the
the one that got snubbed for playing Reed Richards.
Yes, I think maybe he could have been the pick because I was thinking if he does a good Jack Ryan and Harrison Ford also played Jack Ryan, why couldn't he play Indiana Jones? And it just dawned on me today, and maybe that could have worked. And you could have done another trilogy, and you could have had it set in the years that weren't covered in the original trilogy, and just had him going on 3
Yeah,
other.
just get back to the Pulp Fiction, James Bondish kind of,
And just done 3 good movies, and if they're a hit, then maybe later on you recast and do another trilogy with a different actor. And this way you keep the series going. Instead, let's end it with Harrison Ford, and there's nothing else to do with the series now. It's now a weak license. I was watching this one YouTuber, and he was saying that I think Ubisoft keeps saying they're working on this Indiana Jones game, and he's figuring, wait a minute, Indiana Jones is now a weak license. It doesn't have the cachet it used to have.
Right.
They just haven't done anything with it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of videos up about the missteps they've done in the marketing and the failure of the toy companies, and that's not necessarily on Lucasfilm. That's really more on Hasbro than anything else. But there's plenty of blame to go around. There really is.
Or have Krasinski be grown up. Yeah, I thought they could have done that too. It could have been, I argue you could always cast a different actor as an older gentleman. It wouldn't have been that odd because he was a teenager in the last movie. But
right.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, well, you could have changed his name to Indiana too. I don't know. But what was I talking about though? They've done.
But no. Now we get Indiana Fleabag.
Well, of course, this is a spoiler for the movie, but I think it was revealed that Mutt died in Vietnam. But
yes.
I'm thinking, well, they can do a part 6, and it turns out Mutt didn't die in Vietnam. They got the dental records wrong, and he's over there, so Indy has to go to Vietnam.
No, I would be very much in favor of going.
A young soldier named John Rambo.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. No, what we need to do is if you're going to revive Indiana Jones, you got to go back to basics. You set it back during World War II, and it's just him, going and looking for stuff, Well,
the 30s prior to World War II.
Yeah, actually before World War II. Yeah, I want to see that Indiana Jones before, back when he was all fortune and glory, right? That's fine. Go back to before that and just a different artifact each time, a different MacGuffin. And just start rolling them out. And after you've done 3 films, if the actor's wanting too much money, you recast it. And just keep going and keep going.
I have another question. Is the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles still canon? Because according to that show, he had a daughter.
Yep, absolutely not. We're moving on.
But you established it as canon.
It's my canon, but it's not Disney's. That's getting par for the course when it comes to all of these franchises. Charlie Cox's only Daredevil reboot request was rejected by Marvel Studios amid disappointing revelations for the upcoming series. So this was what prompted us to do the good old days about the Charlie Cox Netflix Daredevil series. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a great 3 seasons. Forget about it, because that's not what we're getting from Disney going forward, regardless of who's playing him.
Yeah, let me go ahead and read.
Yeah.
With everything that has been going on with Marvel Studios show Daredevil, new revelation shocked the fandom. Following the confirmation for Netflix show moving to Disney Plus, Marvel Studios reportedly disappointed fans after they revealed only Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio will be returning in the reprised version. Although the information was not officially made by Marvel Studios, one of the stuntmen confirmed he won't be there on the rebooted version. While the studios clearly mentioned that Disney Plus's Daredevil Born Again will be a new beginning and not a continuation of the Netflix show, the revised version is said to have abandoned a crew member and even rejected Charlie Cox's request. Following the decision of releasing the upcoming Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, Marvel Studios recently confirmed the return of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio from the Netflix show to the reprised version. Returning in the rebooted roles as Matt Murdock and Kingpin, respectively, fans are sure to find familiar faces despite Disney Plus show being a new beginning. Although Marvel Studios hasn't, I didn't say the same thing twice, did I? Okay, although Marvel Studios hasn't reverted the situation of the crew member Charlie Cox's stunt double, Chris Brewster confirmed he won't be returning as the studio didn't call him back. In a recent interview, Brewster even mentioned how Cox requested Marvel Studios to allow a stunt double to become part of the revival, but was simply rejected. But ultimately, with Born Again, I had no doubt that they were going to reach out to me. Charlie specifically requests me on everything, and he always goes out of his way and fights for me and to be there, Brewster said. Despite Charlie Cox's humble request, Marvel Studios refused the actor. Denying Cox's only request, the studios reportedly got back to select a whole new cast for the show. And Charlie Cox, asked them over to bring me in, and I never got a phone call. Ironically, nobody that worked on season 1, 2, or 3 went back, Bruce revealed. Taking a major step and targeting new changes that are being adapted to the upcoming Disney Plus Daredevil Born Again. Marvel Studios' decisions were heavily criticized by Chris Brewster, the stunt double for Charlie Cox. He even mentioned the studio's decision was a big mistake. He further claimed the reinvention of Daredevil to be bad and compared him to a cartoon. Ugh. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
to our good old days. So.
I think it's a perfect example of why I have nothing to do with D- or anything that Disney is putting out anymore.
Yeah, I argued, Boosh, that the one way they could get me to see another Spider-Man movie was to have him team up with the Charlie Cox Daredevil and they fight the Kingpin together in the movie. That would have been interesting. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's going to be happening or not. Because Disney has their own plans for Daredevil now.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like the end of a chapter with that, huh?
And now that we're talking about it, I just added Young Indiana Jones Chronicles to my my Amazon list. Hopefully get that on physical media.
I don't know. According to that series, didn't he speak several languages, including German?
He must have. No. He didn't. Oh, maybe in the.
Maybe
Young Indiana Jones.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know if he spoke German or not, but he did. You would expect him to have been speaking multiple languages because, archaeologists, you're going to at least speak a couple of, or at least be able to read a couple of ancient languages, right?
Yeah. It was a better cameo than the one in She-Hulk. Oof. Yes, we know about the one he did in She-Hulk. Again, I don't know if She-Hulk is supposed to be canon because there was a fourth wall break on it.
Well, it's certainly not canon when I haven't even seen it. So, honestly, I haven't seen anything past... Well, I did see WandaVision. But beyond the Avengers Endgame, I've pretty much checked out. I'm done with Marvel.
So we got some more Zack Snyder news.
Yes, we do. Where's my notes here? Yeah, this is interesting. And I'm going to... oh, damn it. Here's another one of those ones that I got to do in 2 parts.
It's a 2-parter.
It is a 2-parter. And I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
I'll read it while you're gone.
All right.
Well, I'll go ahead and read. Oh, there it is. Okay. Zack Snyder's Star Wars pitch was a big ask since it had no pre-existing characters and an R rating. This hails from Variety. Okay, Zack Snyder's space opera Rebel Moon is coming to Netflix at the end of the year, but it would have been a Star Wars movie had the Justice League director's original plan for the project panned out. The idea for Rebel Moon started as a pitch for the Snyder-directed Star Wars movie that Lucasfilm heard after Disney acquired the studio in 2012 for $4.5 billion. Snyder was in post-production of Man of Steel when he made his Star Wars pitch to Lucasfilm. Snyder said in an interview with Empire Magazine that a Star Wars movie was my original concept for Rebel Moon, adding, "It was 7 samurai in space. I knew that the origins of George Lucas were a lot of those Kurosawa films. The sale of Lucasfilm to Disney just happened, Snyder continued. There was that window where, who knows what's possible. I was like, I don't want any of your characters. I don't want to do anything with any known characters. I just want to do my own thing on the side. And originally I was like, it should be rated R. That was almost a non-starter. With no pre-existing characters in the mix and a potential R-rated story, Snyder was fully aware that his Star Wars pitch was a tough sell. I knew it was a big mistake, to be honest, Snyder said, but the deeper I got into it, I realized it was probably never going to be what I wanted. Rebel Moon is a space opera that follows a young woman living in a peaceful colony on the outskirts of the galaxy. She's given the task of finding warriors who could fend off an impending invasion by the despotic Regent Belisarius. The cast includes Sophia Boutella, Charlie Hunnam, Jijimon Hyunso, Ray Fisher, Duna Bay, Jenna Malone, Stasnier, E. Duffy, and Mikhail Huseman. Rebel Moon was written as one movie, but Netflix became hesitant after Snyder delivered a 172-page draft. At that length, Rebel Moon would have clocked in around 3 hours. The filmmaker and the studio then agreed to split the project into two movies, the first which arrives in December. Snyder also told Vanity Fair earlier this year that each film will receive two cuts. One cut is a movie that anyone can enjoy and watch, and one cut will be more explicit and strictly for adults. I think for fans of mine and people who are ready to take a deeper, harder dive, that'll be fun for them, Snyder added. Rebel Moon streams December 22nd on Netflix. What do you think?
Let's keep in mind that we are talking about the same person that brought us the dark and gritty Man of Steel that has done so well.
So, grim, dark, slow motion, everyone is Batman, Star Wars, no thanks.
I mean, whoever is signing off on this definitely should not still be in the entertainment industry, but it's Disney, so this is probably going to happen.
Well, no, this is Netflix. This started out as a Star Wars pitch for Lucasfilm. So you left. See, here's what happened.
Okay.
He pitched this idea to George Lucas or whoever was in charge of it before Disney took over, and they said no because it was an R-rated movie and it didn't include any of the original characters. So.
Gotcha. Okay, well, good. Let him. Look, I've always said this. If you have an idea that you want to do, go ahead and do it. It doesn't have to be part of someone else's franchise, right? Because if it's not lined up, all you're going to do is piss off the fans.
Still, Seven Samurai space opera, isn't that Battle Beyond the Stars?
Oh, kinda, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Oh, let's face it, there's nothing new under heaven anymore, so there's no reason to expect any true originality. And let's face it, George Lucas was looking to do Flash Gordon. Couldn't do it, so he made his own thing. And
I've argued he should do it now. That's what I think he should do.
Flash Gordon, yeah.
Just to stick it to Disney. He's got the money.
Yeah, he's good. He absolutely could.
Flash Gordon is cheaper than Lucasfilm right now. If you want to buy the rights to it, you can do it. But, all right, you want to paste the next one?
Yeah, and originally I didn't realize this actually belongs under the Disney one.
National Geographic, the iconic yellow frame magazine that has chronicled the natural world for more than 100 years, laid off its last remaining staff writers this week. Multiple departing staff are set. The latest round of layoffs at the magazine cut 17 editorial positions, including all of the publication's staff writers, its entire podcast staff, and a group of editors, including one who've been on staff for nearly 40 years. The former staff were affected by the layoffs, told CNN. The layoffs, which were announced to the staff in April, were part of a wave of cuts from parent company Disney, which resulted in thousands of positions being axed across the media giant. Most National Geographic staffers at the time were told the positions would be eliminated in 2 months, resulting in many of the departures this week, the former staffer said. It was unclear how many staffers were cut during the latest round of layoffs at the magazine, but the move comes as parent company Walt Disney Company has slashed thousands of staffers across its divisions this year. National Geographic, which had more than 1.7 million subscribers at the end of 2022, will continue to publish monthly issues of magazine. Spokesperson told CNN and Say on Wednesday, staffing changes will not change our ability to do this work, but rather give us more flexibility to tell different stories and meet our audiences that are across many platforms, the spokesperson said. Any insinuation that the recent changes will negatively impact the magazine or quality of storytelling is simply incorrect. Full staff, hold on. The full staff will be replaced by a roster of freelance writers, save for certain digital content that will be written by in-house editors, the former staffers said. National Geographic currently employs only 2 designated text editors, a group of so-called multi-platform editors who handle both print and digital, and a group of digital-only editors, the former staffers said. The magazine also employs 2 wildlife watch reporters whose positions are funded and managed separately, the former staffer said. News of the layoffs reported on Twitter Tuesday when the departing magazine staff writers began to circulate the news. Today is my last day at National Geographic. Michael Greshko, a former science writer at the magazine, tweeted, "The magazine is parting ways with its staff writers, including me." Yet when CNN contacted the magazine on Tuesday, a spokesperson said there was, quote unquote, nothing to report. It's possible that what you're seeing is from staffers who were previously impacted and have now reached their final week at the company, the spokesperson said. But on Wednesday, more staff writers for the magazine took the Twitter to share the news of their departure. My new National Geographic just arrived, which includes my latest feature, my 16th, and my last as a senior writer, tweeted Craig Welch. National Geographic is laying off all of its staff writers. It's been an epic run. At Nat Geo tweeted former writer Nina Strucklick. My colleagues and I were unbelievably lucky to be the last ever class of staff writers. So now talking to freelance.
So this is a bigger topic regarding business, right? This we kind of talked about this a little bit in obliquely when we were talking about Disney not having its own gaming department anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's seemingly by and large not even really having their own special effects department anymore. Still using freelancers there too. Look, when you bring in freelancers and you don't have people with skin in the game, so to speak, that work directly for you, you're not going to necessarily get... And let's face it, what are they really doing? They're trying to go as cheap as possible, right? So they're going to pay people as little as possible. Well, you get what you pay for. You know, I mean, it's the fast food of entertainment when you're bringing in freelancers. It just is.
So the quality is going to go down in this magazine.
Yeah, and National Geographic always had been well regarded in terms of scientific and anthropological
I remember the
publication
series, the documentary series they did. I used to watch.
But now I didn't realize they were under Disney until today.
Yeah, they've been under Disney for a while.
It explains why they're doing articles about gender. So it really looks like the quality's going down anyway. So along with everything else that Disney acquires, I just say let the effer burn.
Feels like the end of an era, though,
It is. Everything Disney touches dies. Just expect that. You can count on that. Take that to the bank.
Hold on, I want to read this. All right, I was just at the gas station, saw the clerk. They were named Joseph. He's 24 years old. He's never seen the Indiana Jones. Joe has never seen the original trilogy for Indiana Jones. Indy 5 turned him off of the entire franchise. Well, that's what happened.
A shame.
The opposite happened with me and James Bond. It was the Pierce Brosnan movies that got me to watch the older movies. So you have to reinvigorate an audience that's unfamiliar with your property.
Well, and the other thing with James Bond is, up through that period, there was nothing in James Bond that turned the fans away.
No.
So you had, if you weren't old enough to remember the older James Bond, there was a previous generation that did. That might just say, hey, there's a James Bond movie. Let's go check this out. What's James Bond? I haven't seen all the previous ones. Don't worry, you don't have to have. Again, another point for why Indiana Jones should not have gone down the continuing canon route and should have gone down the serialization route, because then you could just jump on anywhere you want,
Yeah.
whether you've seen them or not.
Which is what we should have gotten with, you know, I don't think Hollywood knows how to do like serialized type movies anymore, though. I just, you know, it's a standalone adventure. That's all it is. There's not going to be any big reveals about the character, and then now they're bogging it down with all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, Bush is describing exactly the kind of thing that I was just talking about. He said, my father got me into James Bond.
yeah.
Exactly right. You know, your parents are watching it. You watch it. You like it. You go see the new ones. I mean, I've heard so many people talking about going to see James Bond with their fathers, you know?
Oh, well. Time to move on to the what I call the misc category, right?
Well, no, this is the gaming category.
Yeah,
That's how I saw it, you know?
If you tuned in last week with the Geek Gulag, that's basically what kind of articles are these? It's all the misc articles. Did you know that the Alf, that there was a made-for-TV Alf movie that was made to wrap up the series? Did you know that?
I did not.
It had like a who's who of actors in it, and it's about him being, you know, held by the Air Force and him trying to get out of being dissected.
Right, because that's where they ended it.
Yeah, and it almost serves as an ending for the series, and it's coming to DVD and Blu-ray. I think so. You may want to look for that.
I'll look into it.
That out. It had Martin Sheen in it.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
And Ray Walston, the guy that played My Favorite Martian, he was in it. It had all these known comic actors are in it. And it's basically Alf was doing a bunch of stuff to annoy them, you know, at the
Right.
All right, here we go. The first-person shooter documentary is an excellent look at the popular game genre. All right, here we go. The FPS first-person shooter documentary. Okay, I already read that title. The first-person shooter genre is a big one for PC gaming fans. These kind of games really became popular on PCs first, rather than on consoles or on arcade machines in the early 1990s. The first-person shooter genre helped to solidify the PC platform as an excellent way to play video games, and also helped to push advancements in graphics and other technology for gaming PCs. I thought I knew a lot about the first-person genre, but the truth is that the upcoming documentary, FPS First-Person Shooter, offers a ton of new info about the making of these games over the past several decades. If you are a fan of these kinds of games, this extensive film is a must-watch, based on my viewing of a work-in-progress version of the documentary. Since this is not quite complete version, this is not considered to be a final review of the film. When I say extensive, I mean first-person shooter is no brief 20 or 30-minute mini-doc that you might watch on YouTube. This is an over 4-hour documentary with tons of interviews with many of the people behind classic first-person shooter games, including many first-person titles from id Software like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake, along with other games like System Shock Descent, Rise of the Triad, Jurassic Park Trespasser, Unreal, Half-Life, Halo, Call of Duty, and more. What do you think?
It does sound interesting, I gotta be honest. It really does sound interesting.
There was a Jurassic Park first-person shooter?
I don't know it, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and
look, not all of them were going to be as good as all the others. You know, there were some questionable first-person shooters too. You know,
Halo Combat made
What's to know how old
FPS.
your dad was before he passed?
oh, I have absolutely no idea. He died about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and he must have been about, let's see, he had to be in his early 70s.
Halo Combat Evolved made first-person shooter explode on the consoles. That was originally a PC game, though, which I believe still came out in some form on PCs after it was released on consoles. I feel to mention N6 vs. GoldenEye. GoldenEye is mentioned in the documentary. It's in the trailer. They interview the guys behind it. But prior to Halo, there was Perfect Dark, and GoldenEye, that was pretty much it. There was Duke Nukem.
I like Duke Nukem. I played Duke Nukem. I've heard great things about that GoldenEye game.
Yeah. It's still only available on consoles. It got a re-release. It's funny, they re-released it on the Switch Online. If you're subscribed to Switch Online, you can play it as a downloadable on there. And also on the Xbox One if you own the Rare Replay. And I have both. I have the Rare Replay on the Xbox One, and if I ever get it hooked up again, I'm going to see how it turned out on the Xbox One. On Nintendo 64 Online, like the subscription service, it wasn't optimized for the fancy new Pro controller on the Switch, so you can't play it with twin sticks. But Nintendo does sell a Nintendo 64 controller replica you can buy from their online stores, so you could play it like you did back in the day. And I got one of those controllers when they finally got them back in stock, and I got my N64 replica controller, and I decided to try out GoldenEye again after all these years. Do you know what I discovered? How on earth did I play this game back in the day? These are horrible controls. Awful. One analog stick, you had these square buttons. I mean, the N64 Trident controller works for some games, like Zelda Ocarina of Time, it's fine with others, but the first-person shooters, they hadn't nailed the controls yet on console back then. I don't know how I put up with it, and it's.
Real quick, I wanted to say hi to Gorilla Random Thoughts, who dropped in, just swinging in tonight. Good to see you. Auditor Dread is saying the Jurassic Trespasser was a game. Don't jump on me. Starring Mini Driver, where it took place on Isla Sorna. After Lost World. It was a mess at release and notorious for being buggy, but it was an interesting idea. You have to survive on the island with the dinos and picking up supplies. It also had one of the first uses of a physics engine on PC. Interesting. Didn't know that. And longest running superhero RPG said my son downloaded it on Switch, and it's the only game where I can utterly and completely kick his ass. There you go. Duke Nukem was on console after Halo.
I'm already correcting him in the chat. It's okay. No.
Oh, okay.
I got things wrong tonight too, though. But it actually was on the Nintendo 64, and that was actually I was very annoyed with the Nintendo 64 version of Duke Nukem 3D, which they called Duke Nukem 64, but it was Duke Nukem 3D from the PC because they censored it.
Oh.
They took out the sexy bikini babes in it, which annoyed me. So that was a trade-in later on. I traded that and 2 other games in for Zelda Ocarina of Time when it came out. But it was on Nintendo 64 at one point.
Ocarina of Time was a good game.
Yes. Apparently the Sega Saturn version of Duke Nukem was actually rather good, but I do have Duke Nukem on my PlayStation 3. There was a re-release of it years back, so I got on the PlayStation 3 and my PlayStation Vita.
Gotcha.
All right, so what was
Moving
I going to do?
Moving on to DreamWorks?
Let's start wrapping this.
So Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, flops at the box office, marking record low for DreamWorks. Personally, I'm going to chalk that up to the fact that they cast Hanoi Jane as a voice talent. Seriously, I was going to go see this movie until deleted scenes let me know about that fact. So I said, screw it. I'm not going to see it.
Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, flops at the box office, making record low. Yeah, why did they cast Jane Fonda in this movie as one of the characters? Is Jane Fonda a draw for the kids?
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know why anyone would if they weren't, some kind of left-wing socialist, commie company. And I haven't known DreamWorks to be that.
I don't know. Maybe it was doing somebody a favor. I don't know. This weekend saw...
Well, it certainly didn't do them any favors, obviously.
Yes. The weekend saw the theatrical premiere of the new animated feature Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, and the results are not great. The film, a big-budget feature from DreamWorks Animation, Universal Pictures, has opened to just $5.2 million at the domestic box office. It just barely debuts at number 8, topping The Little Mermaid by around 50,000, though. It's worth noting that the latter is now in its 6th week in theaters, having since earned more than $523 million worldwide. Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken has certainly not been seeing those kinds of numbers, as it will only pull in another $7.5 million overseas, ultimately opening at around $12.7 million worldwide. That's a disaster.
Yeah, it is.
That's even worse than where we were picking on Indy, but this is also fairly bad. Ruby Gillman costs around $70 million to develop, and that's not costing with hundreds of millions more in marketing costs. It's very unlikely the film's theatrical performance will improve in the coming weeks. The film is looking to be a huge money loser with its run on the big screen. It definitely doesn't help that reviews are mixed, landing at 66% of Rotten Tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, though the audience score is notably higher, 84%. That just means the critics don't like it, but I can never trust them.
Yeah.
Who are these critics? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and unfortunately
Grace
they
Randolph?
have...
I mean, this is ridiculous.
I know, right? Yeah, and that's just it. I think most audiences are tired of listening to critics at this point. They're getting to the point where they know if the critics like it, they and their families probably won't. It's getting to the point, based on that, where good reviews probably means bad ticket sales. So maybe they need to start, the marketing departments need to start thinking about flipping the switch on how they deal with critics.
Yeah. Is Jane Fonda a draw for adults?
Yeah, no.
No.
Well, I mean, left-wing commies, maybe. Traitors to their country, maybe.
Longest running superhero RPG on Earth. I've always been more of a... Oh, you're talking about the first-person shooters, Metroid, Castlevania type of guy. I would recommend, if it's... Well, I don't know if you even own a modern console, but if you do, if you were to try a first-person shooter, maybe try the original Quake. If you like dark games like Metroid and Castlevania, it might be your... you might get a kick out of it. I don't know.
Oh, and another thing about Hanoi Jane, she was on the View, and she was even too woke for those cackling hens. Yeah, she said something about she thinks certain people of certain types should be dead or something like that, and they were all trying to back her off. Oh, seriously, you don't mean that. And even Whoopi was like, can we when you go too far, even for those women.
Well, what was she saying that was setting them off?
I don't know. It was some woke talking point, and they were upset about some conservative white men or something like that. And Hanoi Jane was like, well, I'd be fine with they were all dead or something like that. It's something pretty damn heinous.
Yeah. All right. Final story.
Yeah, this is a very brief one.
Just going to read the headline.
Just read the headline. That's all you need to do.
Smallville actor Allison Mack released from prison after serving 2 years in NXIVM.
NXIVM cult case. Yeah, she was the second, in charge after the cult leader. She would line up girls and women for him, and it was it's more involved than that, because it billed itself as being some kind of a women empowering kind of thing, and she got all wrapped up. And interestingly, she got into it because of Kristen Cruick, who was her co-star, or
I thought it was the other way around. She tried getting Kirsten Cruick.
No. Kristen Cruick wasn't really getting into it, but she said, "Hey, you might be interested in this," and then she bowed out of it. So it's like, hey, thanks a lot, Kristen. That's great of you.
That's like a horror movie. That's like a horror movie thing. You might be interested in this.
Yeah, and I mean, these girls all got branded and stuff. It's just all kinds of sick. But I mean, great, good. She's out. She served her time. Maybe she gets her head on straight. One hopes. But I doubt that, because unfortunately, in that environment that she's in the entertainment industry, there is no sanity to be found, I don't think.
Well, she'll be doing Hallmark movies in a year. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's not funny. Okay, that's not funny. You didn't
But
laugh.
no,
If
I
you laughed,
mean,
it'd be funny. It's a joke because it's like
I know.
it's like the most
Tell
wholesome
not
thing
to
on
ruin
TV.
Hallmark for me.
Yeah, Netter says don't ruin Hallmark for her.
That's my point. It's just. Oh, what was going on Smallville?
What do you mean? What was going on Smallville? What do you mean?
Oh, that was a comment.
No, I wasn't saying anything about Smallville. She just
No.
happened to have been on Smallville.
No, deleted scenes is asking because what was going on Smallville that caused.
Oh, I see what the F was going on Smallville that would lead to
Maybe
that.
the set of Smallville.
It's funny because Michael Rosenbaum has
talked
talked
about this, yeah.
a little bit about it. He doesn't get too far into it, but it was a cult that they got into, and it's really kind of a shame.
He said he didn't know because he said him and Tom Welling would hang out.
Yeah,
He wouldn't hang out with his female co-stars usually off the set because he didn't want romantic entanglements with his female co-stars.
Right,
A guest
right.
star was a different story, but if it was a co-star, he said of Allison Mack, he thought she was a sweet girl. He had nothing against her. She was good on the set, professional. He had nothing nice to say. He didn't know she was into all this stuff. Yeah. But,
well, yeah. I mean, you kind of wonder, right? I mean, it's like I don't know what the relationships are between actors on an ongoing show, but I tend to assume it's kind of like coworkers. I don't know much about most of my coworkers' private lives or their religions or any of that kind of stuff.
if they're cutting chicken heads off in their spare time, and I'm just
religion, cooking interests could go either way.
now you're mentioning religion. And I was watching Temple of Doom earlier, and I'm
Kali Ma.
the Kali Ma cult, and it's like I'm sorry, modern Lucasfilm they wouldn't have the stones to make a movie like that now, which is just balls to the wall, ridiculous fun. It's Indiana Jones going into the Temple of Doom, which looks like something out of the bowels of hell. They're worshiping this evil deity. They have these glowing stones, and he's like ripping the guy's heart out from his chest and then sending him into the fire, and it's burning. And he's laughing maniacally as this is going on, and you're like, "Oh yeah, there's your villain."
Right, exactly.
Like, that had a good villain.
That was a good
brilliant movie. I love Temple of Doom. I know Raiders, you could argue, is technically the better film, but I love Temple of Doom. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Willie Scott's my favorite of the Indiana Jones women.
I didn't have a problem with Willie. She's
a pain in the ass, but I like her.
Yeah. But I'll tell you who my favorite in that was Short Round.
He's great. As I said, one of the few child characters in the movie that I really liked. I thought he held his own with Indy in that, and I love that. Yeah.
And that's another thing. The fact that he wasn't brought back for this last Indiana Jones film, another reason not to see it.
Even for just a cameo.
Right? Hell, even a mention. The character at least deserves some sort of follow-up. They probably would have killed him off in Vietnam, too.
I have horrible images. I have images of remember Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise, character doing the friendly fire, and it's Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, gosh.
Mud Jones. It's just I don't. And then I had the other theory that no, he's not really dead, and that he's being held in one of those cages with all the other POWs that were in Rambo.
Yeah.
He has to go in there.
I had a great uncle that was a prisoner of war during World War II. It is
that's horrifying. Which group put him in?
He was in the Pacific, so it was the Japanese.
That might have been worse than the. Okay, that was awful. I saw the movie Unbroken, and
I'll be honest,
what those troops went through.
Only through the retrospective and adult do I recognize some things. He had some bad shoulders. His hand was all twisted into he couldn't open his hand all the way. I'm pretty sure that happened during the war. He just never talked about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Boosh has a request. Are these dirty?
Can you share the last 2 pictures I sent you on the Twitter just to make... Oh, gosh. I know what this probably is. Let me check Twitter. Hold on. Where are you? There you go.
Just you making the peace symbol with the late Dustin Diamond?
I am
don't
jealous.
know.
I am jealous. You see just the last 2? Okay. This is some good stuff here. Give me a second. I'll bring this up. This is probably worth it. This is, he shares these things with me, and if anyone else was doing this, I would be like, why are you sharing this with me? He shares it with me, and I'm like, oh man. Give me a second. Share screen. Entire screen. There we go. So, this is the surfing.
Porn.
Yeah, food porn. This is the.
Oh.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
Let me get rid of this. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. What is all that? I see. Is that ribs?
No. This is it's beef. It might be prime rib. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Looks like there's a salad. Got some fish. Not sure exactly, but boy, it does look good, doesn't it? And oh wait, he says, sriracha coleslaw, bacon stuffed mushroom, garlic pizza twist, and marinara. Oh God, look at that! Look at that! Oh yeah. So Bush, I know, is he went to what, culinary school? He knows how to cook. He's I mean, I'm a happily married man and I'm straight, but if that wasn't the case, I'd be kind of looking over at Bush. Let me tell you.
Now I'm hungry again.
Oh, it's ribeye. Okay.
Ribeye. Okay. All homemade.
Oh God, I am. My mouth is kind of watering now. I mean, my goodness. But yeah, there we go.
That looks pretty tasty.
All homemade. Well, yeah, obviously. But there you go. And then deleted scenes. Now I'm hungry. Exactly. What have you done, Bush McFadden? Well, it's usually food, and I don't have a problem with that either. But yeah. So going into the week, we don't have anything up through Wednesday, do we?
No, I don't think so. Not this week, unless Birdman is able to do an impromptu thing. I know we were supposed to do a Casino Royale rewatch with Zootopia at some point, but
so Casino Royale is coming up in the future at some point. Yes. It's in holding.
I've read the book, so I want to talk about the differences between the book and the movie.
Good.
Let me tell you something. The Bond books, those early books, he's dealing with an evil organization, but it's not Spectre, it's Smersh, which is a Soviet organization, and they're terrifying.
Interesting.
I mean, I'll be curious to see how Spectre comes across in the books too when he gets to them, because Spectre comes later. But in the early books, it's this horrible Soviet organization that is very ruthless and very evil. I'm just going to point out
I'm with you.
In fact, it's kind of funny in the book Casino Royale, Bond's being. He called it later in the book that this was stupid sophistry, but at one point he's like, are we really any better than the enemy we fight? And, maybe the devil just didn't get his due, and he's saying all this stuff to this French agent that he was working with. And the French agent says, you're getting too mucked down this, surround yourself with people you want to protect and the rest follow. It's not about nations or governments. It's about people, the people in your life. And, you want to protect them.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that's actually some good writing. But I'll tell you, you can't write like that if you don't know what you're writing about. And let's face it, Ian Fleming lived that. Which is also why, this modern generation wants to tear him down. Because they can't live up to it, so they have to tear him down.
Yeah, I thought I said Smersh. Yeah, it translates to death to spies. I think that's one of their mottos or something.
But it's in Russian, so
yes,
I wouldn't know. Exactly.
I have pictures of me making a garlic pizza. That sounds delicious.
Oh,
garlic pizza twists.
That does sound good.
Oh, Deleted says, I'll be joining Jedi Bill
for a review of the new Mission Impossible movie tomorrow night. Okay. make sure that you share that out on your community tab and on the social type media. And there you go.
I'll be blunt. Part of me planning my vacation week off was not just because I'm trying to get vacation week off before we lose more staff, but I also wanted to take it off while Mission Impossible was out in theaters so I could go see it.
That's smart.
I'm very. In fact, I want the movie to do well because I want people to stop using the pandemic as an excuse for everything.
So other than
make a good movie, people will go see it.
So that other than Jedi Bill and deleted scenes review tomorrow night. That brings us to Thursday night, where Netter on her Thursday Things will be interviewing, I don't know, some derelict.
Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Some aged boomer. There you go. So that's this Thursday, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, on Thursday Things, only on Netter's Network. Friday night, I have not set a topic.
Talk about Smallville the whole stream. I'm sorry.
You want to focus specifically on Allison Mack's character, on Chloe Sullivan?
Chloe
we could
Sullivan.
do that.
Chloe Sullivan. Not that I want to get bogged down again. She couldn't die. She was this character you kept expecting to get killed off, and then it looks like she got killed off, and then she survives.
Because there was this feeling, like, because she was a character specifically made up for Smallville,
I thought she was going to
if
die.
she was going to die, you wouldn't be surprised.
Her cousin Lois Lane gets into this talk of like, Chloe's going to outlive her usefulness at some point.
Yeah.
Die.
Did you know that they actually worked the character? Well, after pre-New 52, after that, all bets are off. But in the Superman line before New 52, did you know they introduced Chloe Sullivan into the storyline?
I'd heard they were doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on Friday night? Did you mention what you were doing?
I don't have a topic yet, but it'll be something, I'm sure.
Well, maybe there'll be something new coming out this week. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a certain someone being let go. Or maybe...
I insist she will not be let go, but she may announce her retirement, perhaps.
Okay.
We'll see. But then that brings us to Saturday night over on Big Al Presents, Films with Friends. And this is a real Films with Friends. We will be joined by friend of the channel, personal friend of Netter and myself, and I'm going to say now Big Al too, Evelyn Hampton. She is the admiral of our local Klingon community, and she has been trying to get Netter and I to watch Reptilicus for years. Not that we've resisted. I mean, at first we resisted because it was like, oh, really? But then it wasn't even so much we didn't want to see it. It's just, we'll see it. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. But now she's catching up to us, and we'll be watching it on Big Al Presents on Saturday.
Okay.
And I presume,
that sounds like a winner.
And I presume come Sunday there will be another unscripted on Deleted Scenes. 7 Central, 8 Eastern, as the lead-in to Geeky Geezers.
There
One
you go.
presumes.
Yes. Well, I don't know what we'll be talking about next week. Hopefully some good news for Mission Impossible comes Sunday. We'll see. But,
that would be nice. That would be nice. Another one so that we can vehemently say, look, cinema is not dead. It's just the audiences are sick of crap stories.
I'll look for some Ghostbusters news this week, maybe.
Yeah. I'm. There's been a lot too. The filming is definitely underway. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be great. Hearing that...
we're going to find out that Winston's wife has separated from him because his son died in Afghanistan.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding. Wait, what? No.
No, but seriously, we've gotten... They're not even keeping tight-lipped on it. They're letting you know that all of the old Ghostbusters are coming back, including Bill Murray. Yeah, so, I mean... I think it's great, but I don't even feel like it's necessary. I
As
feel like
long
we
as
got.
they're in a support role and not as and to support the new characters, like they.
Well, I'm sure that Murray and Aykroyd are going to be in support roles, but I think that Winston's going to be not a lead role, but an important support role. I think he's like the franchise owner at this point.
It'd be interesting if the new Ghostbusters, the kids, have to rescue the old Ghostbusters, and you see things from both points of view in the movie. That'd be like it went back and forth or something, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a
figure out a
great
way.
narrative way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking that again, and you could call this fan service if you want, but it's good fan service marketing type stuff. Focus on that concept of the franchises. And the idea that other franchises open up in other cities, because that opens it up to all those other franchises. Those are the fan franchises that are out there right now, keeping your franchise alive in between movies, Seriously. And then because then you already have your built-in equivalent of the 501st, You come to Chicago, the Chicago Ghostbusters are there. No problem, And we'll show up and
They should do a Chicago Ghostbusters, right? That would be.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean that would be the smart money, and yeah, I think that's going to be happening. And you know what? I'll even go so far as to say this: by doing that whole franchise model, the way you do a little stinger at the end of it is you set up a franchise here, a franchise there, and so forth, and then you say, you know what, New York has been such a hotbed of ghost activities. Maybe we need another franchise here in New York, and you have what's her name from the 2016 show up and go, I'd kind of be interested. Because I've been thinking of I heard this from one of the New York fan groups. He was on a Tea and Telly the other day talking about it, and he made a great point. He's like, I don't think fans would have been so upset about the 2016 movie if they had made it in the same universe and they were just another franchise. I don't think fans would have reacted as badly. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right. But it's really the fact that they made it a complete reboot and said, forget about all that other stuff. That's the only reason you care about Ghostbusters in the first place. That's what people were pissed about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's like they're not even acknowledging the original movies.
Yeah. So
Kate McKinnon wasn't bad. Okay. The rest were tolerable. Okay.
Which one's Kate McKinnon?
Is the blonde actress.
The one that was like the Egon analog?
Yes. I didn't see 20.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's also the same one that embarrasses the hell out of herself every time she.
Do you know I have a digital version of 2016?
I probably do too, technically.
When I signed up for a Movies Anywhere account to get all my movies in one spot from different services, it then gave me free movies, and one of them was Ghostbusters 2016. It's like,
I got that big collector's kit.
It came with pack. Ghostbusters 2016 as the digital code. We did a news story on that. Remember, the director was getting all bent into shape and the like, but they're including it as a digital copy.
Yeah, exactly. So it cost them nothing, in other words. But and yeah, that
will make them nothing too. Yeah, but
I would actually have to download that to watch it, and I'm not sure that I have the wherewithal to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all have a good week. Oh, go ahead. Anything else to say?
No. That's it. That's all I got. And I thank you for another great show.
Thank you. And looking forward to Friday. We'll come up with something good. I'm sure Bigfoot will be discovered by the end of the week. We can talk about that.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
I gotta hit the end broadcast button. Gotta do that.